Chapter 190. Chapter 190. Chapter 190 Reorganizing the Lu family. 5496903339. Lu Ming sat on his seat and accepted the bow calmly. He glanced at them indifferently and sneered, "I'm your young master? Your master is Lu Yunxiong, right?" The 5 branch heads turned pale, and one of them said, "Young master, you've misunderstood. The force that Lu Yunxiong brought with him that day was too strong. If we were to resist, we would definitely be annihilated. If that were to happen, the Lu family would really be finished." "That's right, young master. We surrendered to Lu Yunxiong only because we wanted to save our lives. We'll wait for you to return." "Oh, is that so?" Lu Ming looked at the few of them with a faint smile. He did not say anything but picked up the teacup and slowly sipped the tea. The 5 branch masters looked at each other. They did not know what Lu Ming was thinking, and they felt uneasy. At that time, the mystical sword sect seemed to have already informed me of my death, right? "You're still waiting for my return? Could it be that you already knew that I wasn't dead?" Lu Ming asked indifferently. The 5 of them began to sweat. They looked at each other and then said, "The young master is so talented. How could he die so easily? We guessed that the young master was not dead, so we used that plan." "Oh, so that's how it is. You're all so resourceful that you can even help people read their fortunes," Lu Ming said indifferently and continued to drink his tea. The 5 branch masters' faces turned red, but they could only grit their teeth and remain silent. The atmosphere seemed to have frozen at once. Lu Ming sipped his tea, the 3 core elders and Li Ping did not speak, and the 5 branch masters could only stand there, not daring to make a sound. The current Lu Ming was no longer the useless young master from back then. His combat strength was unparalleled, and his cultivation had reached an unbelievable realm. Crushing them to death was as easy as crushing an ant. He had formed a very powerful aura without them knowing. They did not even dare to breathe loudly in front of Lu Ming. "I've already killed Lu Yunxiong." Suddenly, Lu Ming's voice was heard. "What?" Not only the 5 branch masters, but the 3 core elders were also shocked. "I've already killed Lu Yunxiong in the White Tiger Hall. So, don't even think that you'll be lucky. This is the fate of those who betray the Lu family," Lu Ming said coldly. "CCGU." Everyone gasped. Lu Ming had actually killed Lu Yunxiong at the White Tiger Hall and returned alive. How capable was he? They could not imagine it. At the same time, the 5 branch masters were terrified. They looked at each other and knelt down together. "Young master, we were really foolish that day. Please forgive us. We will wholeheartedly assist you in the future and revitalize the Lu family. If we disobey, we will die a horrible death." "Why do I not believe it?" Lu Ming looked at the 5 branch masters with a faint smile. The cold sweat on the faces of the 5 branch masters became even more concentrated, and it kept dripping down. "How about this? All of you swear an oath to the inner demons, and I'll believe you," Lu Ming said indifferently. "An oath of inner demons." The 5 branch masters' expressions changed drastically. The so-called oath of the heart demon was an oath to one's heart, using one's blood essence as a step. Once a martial artist made a mental demon oath, if he were to go against it in the future, it would be very easy for his mental demons to act up during cultivation, and he would die from chi deviation. "What's wrong? If you don't want to make an oath, I won't be at ease leaving you behind." Lu Ming's voice turned cold. The 5 branch heads' expressions changed drastically, and they hurriedly said, "We swear an oath." After that, the 5 of them made the oath of inner demons. At this moment, Lu Ming smiled and said, "In the future, you will know that your choice is correct. Now, go down." The 5 branch masters quickly took their leave. 3 elders, the Lu family's strength has been greatly reduced after going through so many twists and turns. However, the quality of the people is more important than the quantity. I have some secret cultivation techniques here. You can take them and cultivate. Lu Ming's phone glowed. A stack of books appeared on the table. A cultivation technique or martial skill manual? The 3 core elders were a little puzzled. They each picked up a book and flipped through it. As soon as they opened it, the 3 of them widened their eyes in shock. A yellow-grade upper-level martial arts technique. Mine is also a yellow-grade upper-level. Me too. The 3 core elders exclaimed in unison. 3 elders, here are 5 sets of yellow-grade upper-level martial arts techniques and 10 sets of yellow-grade lower-level martial arts techniques. You can take them to cultivate, or you can choose the best seedlings in the family and pass them on to them. Lu Ming said with a smile. 5 yellow tier upper level and 10 yellow tier lower level? The 3 core elders gasped. The Lu family only had 1 upper yellow level cultivation skill, which was regarded as the clan's most important cultivation skill. Ordinary people were not qualified to cultivate it. The Lu clan did not have many yellow level lower class martial arts techniques, only 6 or 7 of them. Now, Lu Ming had actually taken out so many cultivation technique secret manuals in one go. If the Lu family's disciples cultivated them, their abilities would increase by a large margin very quickly. Many thanks, young master. The 3 core elders thanked Lu Ming, their bodies trembling with excitement. There's no need to thank me, elders. Since I'm the Lu family's young master, this is what I should do. Lu Ming said. In the ruins of the Dongi tribe, Lu Ming had obtained more than 30 yellow-grade cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. These martial arts techniques were not of much use to him and could only be sold. He might as well keep them with the Lu family and increase their strength. There's more. Lu Ming had a thought and some jade bottles appeared on the table. These jade bottles contained some medicinal pills. Some could heal injuries, some could dispel poison, and some could raise the cultivation of martial artists in the warrior realm and even the master realm. Lu Ming had obtained them from the enemies he had killed. They were not of much use to him, but they were very useful to the majority of the Lu clan's invigorated Meridian realm and warrior realm martial artists. Take all these pills. As for how to split them, you guys decide. Lu Ming said. Young master, you've given everything to the family. What about you? One of the core elders said. Take it. I have no use for these. Lu Ming said with a smile. All right, that's good. We'll take it. We'll definitely select disciples who are loyal to the Lu family and distribute it to them to improve the Lu family's strength. Another core elder said excitedly. The 3 of them carefully put away the pills. Li Ping was so happy that she could not close her mouth when she saw Lu Ming taking out so many treasures. After the 3 core elders kept the items, they bade Lu Ming farewell. They were in a hurry to go back and discuss how to make good use of these treasures. They could not let the Lu family improve their strength as soon as possible. Lu Ming stayed at the Lu family for 7 days. 7 days later, Lu Ming decided to bid farewell to Li Ping. He could not hide in the Lu clan forever. There were some things that he had to face. Moreover, he had to investigate Lu Yuntian's whereabouts as soon as possible. In the main manor's courtyard. Ming, be careful when you go out. Li Ping did not ask Lu Ming to stay. She only reminded him to be careful. A man's ambition was to travel far and wide. Moreover, a genius like Lu Ming would not be trapped in one place. That would only restrict him. Li Ping was well aware of this, so she did not try to persuade him to stay. Mother, don't worry. Ming will be fine, Lu Ming said. After that, Lu Ming pondered and hesitated. After a while, he said, Mother, Ming has something to tell you. Lu Ming intended to tell Li Ping that Lu Yuntian might still be alive. Chapter 191. Chapter 191. Chapter 191. The reappearance of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion. 5496903339. In the past, he had chosen to hide the truth because he was worried that Li Ping would miss and worry about him. However, after experiencing so many things during this period of time, he had understood many things. Although Li Ping would be worried and concerned if he told her about this, there would always be hope in her heart. No matter what happened, she would always have a glimmer of hope in her heart. As long as there was hope, it was enough. What news? Li Ping asked curiously when she saw how serious Lu Ming was. Father, he might not be dead, Lu Ming said seriously. As soon as she finished speaking, Li Ping's body suddenly trembled and her pupils widened. Then, Li Ping's body trembled more and more violently. Her eyes shone with a strong sense of hope as she said in a trembling voice, Ming Xiao, Ming what did you say? Mother, I said that father might not be dead. Lu Ming repeated. He didn't die. He didn't die. Ming is this true? Slowly, Li Ping's expression became one of extreme excitement, and her tears could no longer be held back. He then asked, Ming where did you get this news? Is it true? If your father isn't dead, then where has he been all these years? Mother, it is like this. Lu Ming then told Li Ping about his encounter with Zhu Linshan in detail. So it's him. Back then, he sent me a spirit sword and a pendant. I once asked about Yun Tian's whereabouts, but he told me that Yun Tian was already dead. So he lied back then. Does that mean that Yun Tian is really still alive? Li Ping said excitedly, her eyes full of hope. Yes, Mother. Father might have fallen into the hands of the 10 Direction Sword School, so I plan to go to the imperial capital to investigate his whereabouts. Ming I've heard that the 10 Direction Sword School is the strongest sect in the Blazing Sun Empire. You have to be careful. Li Ping warned, very worried. Mother, don't worry. Ming won't go head-to-head with the 10 Direction Sword School now. He'll just investigate. Nothing will happen, Lu Ming said. Only then did Li Ping feel more at ease. Mother, don't worry. As long as father is still alive, Ming will definitely be able to save him and let our family reunite. Lu Ming said firmly. Ming Mother believes you. Li Ping said with a smile. Mother, I'll be leaving then. Lu Ming nodded heavily. Go. Lu Ming bade farewell to Li Ping and headed outside. Walking out of the Lu residence, Lu Ming looked at the back of the Lu family. After a moment of thought, he moved and headed there. There was a fruit forest behind the Lu family, and it was filled with fruit trees. There were also small bridges, flowing water, pavilions, and lakes. The environment was very elegant. Lu Ming walked into the fruit forest and came to a small lake. An elder was fishing by the lake. This old man was the golden-robed elder sent by Lin Shui, the sect leader of the mystical sword sect, to guard the Lu family. Lu Ming, your senses are really sharp. I was cultivating 2 days ago, and you could already sense the slight fluctuations I revealed. The gold-robed elder smiled. Lu Ming thanks Senior for coming to guard the Lu family. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed. You don't have to thank me. I'm just following orders. You deserve it. After all, the sect has let you down. The golden-robed elder sighed. Lu Ming was silent and did not speak. The golden-robed elder pondered for a moment and sighed. Lu Ming, I hope you don't blame the sect leader. In fact, he's in a very difficult position. As the sect leader, he has to put the interests of the mystical sword sect above all else. Senior, I don't blame anyone. In this world, the weak are prey to the strong. If I have to blame someone, I can only blame myself for being too weak. However, one day, I will rule over all forces and families. I will make sure that the heavens can no longer cover my eyes, Lu Ming said. He seemed to be talking to the old man but also to himself. The old man was startled and seemed to be moved. No matter what, Lu Ming still has to thank Senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists again and bowed to the elder. He then turned around and strode away. Looking at Lu Ming's back as he left, the old man was in a daze. After a long time, he let out a long sigh. Sect leader, perhaps you've made the wrong choice this time. Lu Ming left the fruit forest but did not leave Fiery Wind City immediately. Instead, he found a hidden place and entered the Supreme Shrine to start cultivating. Time passed and night fell. Lu Ming then left the Supreme Shrine. He put on his black robe and bamboo hat and left the city. Then, he headed in the direction of the imperial capital. The capital of the Burning Sun Empire was located at the center of the empire, to the west of Fiery Wind City. It was more than 100,000 miles away. Even with Lu Ming's current movement technique, it would take him more than 20 days to reach the imperial capital. In the first 3 days, everything was calm. However, on the evening of the 4th day, Lu Ming, who was in a hurry, suddenly stopped. That was because he felt a few waves of killing intent surrounding him. Someone was trying to kill him. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming stomped his foot and his figure soared into the sky. Just as Lu Ming charged forward, a sharp and cold sword aura pierced the spot where Lu Ming had been standing. With a clang, the sword chi left a deep hole in the ground. Buzz! Buzz! Then, 7 or 8 figures appeared from all directions like ghosts. Lu Ming swept his gaze across. There were a total of 8 figures, all of them wearing black robes and masks. It was a Silivera wolf mask. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion. Lu Ming immediately recalled that this was the Shadow Wolf Pavilion, one of the 4 major assassin organizations in the Blazing Sun Empire. The Silivera wolf mask represented the Silivera wolf-level assassin of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion. 5 6th grade Great Martial Master and 3 7th grade Great Martial Master. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion really thinks highly of me, Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Kill. Kill. There were 8 murderous sounds and 8 extremely sharp sword chi that were aimed at Lu Ming. Let's see who kills who. Lu Ming let out a long howl. At this moment of life and death, Lu Ming activated his blood meridian and an ancient shield appeared on his body. Explode. Lu Ming did not care about the attacks from the other 7 people. His spear turned into a ray of light and shot toward a 6th grade Great Martial Master assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion. Bang, bang, bang. 7 consecutive attacks landed on Lu Ming's body. 4 of them were blocked by the shield. The shield buzzed and trembled, but in the end, it was not broken. However, the area that the shield could cover was limited and it could only block one direction. There were still 3 rays of sword aura that blasted Lu Ming. The spirit-devouring bloodline had devoured 50% of the attack, but the remaining energy still made Lu Ming's body tremble. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming's attack had also erupted. The 6th grade Great Martial Master expert was killed in one shot without even being able to let out a scream. Devour. A powerful devouring force appeared and devoured the assassin's blood essence. Damn it, didn't they say that Lu Ming had fused with the soul of the Demon King and was half crippled? How can it be so terrifying? It seems like the information was wrong. Let's avoid that shield and attack Lu Ming's body directly. We can kill him once the time limit of his blood meridian is over, the assassins shouted. Chapter 192. Chapter 192, The Battle in the Wild Forest. 5496903339. Kai 7 figures flickered rapidly like 7 shadow woe levers. They were extremely fast. As his figure flickered, sharp and vicious sword chi dodged Lu Ming's ancient shield and stabbed at him. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. He ignored the attacks from all directions and focused on a 6th grade Great Martial Master assassin. He went all out to kill him. The other party was shocked and quickly retreated. However, Lu Ming's speed was even faster. He used his mid-air steps to the maximum and his body seemed to be weightless. Landslide. Lu Ming's long spear came from above and smashed down heavily. 100-meter-long spear light as thick as a water tank smashed toward the assassin. Bang! Although the assassin tried his best to block, he was still sent flying and blood spurted out of his mouth. Lightning. With a kai sound, the spear ray pierced through the opponent's heart like lightning. He killed another person. However, in the process, Lu Ming was hit 7 to 8 times. Even though he had the spirit-devouring bloodline, his face was still pale and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. He was injured. At this moment, his aura was rapidly declining. The time for the bloodline explosion was up. It's time for his bloodline to explode. The remaining assassins were ecstatic. Just now, Lu Ming was like an immortal demon god. He ignored his attacks and killed 2 people in a row, which really made them shudder with fear. He's already injured. In addition to his weakened strength, he won't be able to escape. A 7th grade Great Martial Master assassin shouted. The other 5 people moved in a flash and surrounded Lu Ming. You were sent by the Duanmu family, right? Lu Ming suddenly asked. You don't care who sent us, we're here to take your life. One of the assassins sneered, his voice cold. Lu Ming sneered. Although the other party did not give in, he was sure that it was the Duanmu family. Other than the Duanmu family, who else would want to kill him? He had probably been targeted not long after he left Fiery Wind City. Moreover, When Lu Ming first went to the mystical sword sect to participate in the assessment, he was assassinated by the Shadow Wolf Pavilion in the mystical sword city. Back then, his only enemies were the Duanmu family. Lu Ming did not believe that it was not the Duanmu family. Tell me, what is the relationship between the Duanmu family and your Shadow Wolf Pavilion? Or rather, what is the relationship between the Shadow Wolf Pavilion and the mystical sword sect? Lu Ming asked coldly. You still have a lot of questions when you're about to die. However, you'd better go to hell and ask the King of Hell. Kill. A 7th grade Great Martial Master Assassin shouted coldly and charged at Lu Ming. The other 5 people launched their attacks as well. The sword aura was like a net that covered Lu Ming. Buzz. Lu Ming did not take it head-on. Instead, he used the mid-air steps to dodge it. However, the other party was a top-notch assassin and they had good teamwork. Lu Ming could not dodge them completely. If not for the ancient shield, he would have been injured. Even so, Lu Ming was still in danger. Lu Ming's current cultivation was at the peak of the 3rd grade Grandmaster realm. Under the condition that he did not activate his blood meridian, he could fight with a 7th grade Grandmaster and even suppress them. However, the other party had 3 7th grade Great Martial Masters and 3 6th grade Great Martial Masters. They worked well together and Lu Ming was at a complete disadvantage. The 6 flashes of sword chi completely enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming's long spear was brandished as he fought with them. Bang! A 6th grade Great Martial Master Assassin was swept away by the spear and was sent flying 100 meters away. His face was pale. However, Lu Ming also paid the price. A sword wound appeared on his body and blood flowed out. Refine, refine. Lu Ming roared. He had just devoured the blood essence of 2 6th grade Great Martial Master Realm Assassins, and he was refining them while fighting. He wanted to break through. His cultivation had always been at the peak of the 3rd grade Great Martial Master Realm, only a step away from the 4th grade Great Martial Master Realm. As long as he could break through, his combat strength would increase greatly, and he would be able to fight back. However, it was not easy to break through to the Great Martial Master Realm. Boom! The true chi in his body was rumbling, but it was difficult to break through for the time being. Not enough. I don't have enough energy. I have to kill one more person and devour one more person's blood essence to break through. Lu Ming roared in his heart. Kill. He used all his strength and pounced towards the injured killer. But how could the other assassins let him do as he wished? They charged at him with all their might. Not long after, 2 more wounds appeared on Lu Ming's body. If he had not dodged in time, he would have been cut in half. However, even though he was injured, he still got the result he wanted. The 6th grade Great Martial Master Killer was hit by Lu Ming's spear again. This spear attack was even more overbearing. Half of the other party's body had almost exploded and was sent flying. He was already half dead. Die. Lu Ming charged forward without a care. Poochie. Lu Ming paid the price of another wound, but he also ended the 6th grade Great Martial Master Killer with one shot. Devour. His spirit-devouring bloodline erupted with a powerful devouring power, devouring the other party's blood essence in an instant. Boom, boom, boom. In his bloodline, waves of energy immediately emerged. Break, break. Lu Ming roared in his heart. At the same time, he dodged the attacks of the remaining assassins with all his might. After more than 10 moves, Lu Ming's injuries became more serious and the situation became more disadvantageous to him. Boom. At this moment, a loud boom suddenly erupted from his body. Lu Ming's aura instantly bloomed. 4th grade Great Master Realm, breakthrough. Boom. Lu Ming's spear swept out and collided with a 7th grade Grandmaster Killer. The long spear and sword clashed, and the other party's expression changed drastically. The sword bent, and his body was sent flying backward. Cultivation base breakthrough? How is that possible? One of the assassins shouted. Now, let's see who will kill who. Lu Ming bellowed in rage. His aura was wild and his long spear swept out. The spear's radiance was like a mountain. Bang! Bang! The 2 6th grade Great Martial Master Assassins were sent flying and slid for dozens of meters on the mountain. They were already half dead and couldn't move. Monster, What a monster. Let's go. The remaining 3 7th grade Great Martial Master Realm experts' expressions changed drastically. Without thinking, they actually turned around and ran. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He stared at one of them and chased after him. Ah! The assassin who was being chased by Lu Ming bellowed in shock. He realized that he was not as fast as Lu Ming. Very soon, Lu Ming caught up with him. I'll fight you to the death. The assassin roared and charged at Lu Ming. Unfortunately, he was no match for Lu Ming. Now that Lu Ming had broken through to the 4th grade Grandmaster realm, he could even put up a fight against an ordinary 8th grade Grandmaster, let alone him. He was completely suppressed. The assassin could only resist a dozen moves with all his might before he was pierced by Lu Ming's spear. After that, Lu Ming devoured the assassin's blood essence. He then turned around and killed the 2 6th grade Great Martial Master assassins, devouring their blood essence. A storage ring. Lu Ming realized that each of the assassins had a storage ring. Lu Ming put it away without any hesitation. Then, his figure moved, and he headed toward the deep mountains and old forests by the side. After running more than 30 miles in one go, Lu Ming finally stopped. His body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. In the battle just now, although he had achieved outstanding results, his injuries were not light. Duanmu family, I, Lu Ming, swear that I'm not a human being if I don't trample all of you. Lu Ming roared in his heart, his eyes flashing with killing intent. Chapter 193. Chapter 193, The Golden Wolf Killer. 54969039. Then, Lu Ming entered the Supreme Shrine and began to refine his blood essence to heal his injuries. At this moment, on a mountain peak 100 miles away from Lu Ming, a black-robed man wearing a golden wolf mask stood with his hands behind his back. His body was filled with cold killing intent. He was the Golden Wolf Killer of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, 2 figures, as fast as lightning, sprinted towards the mountain peak. When he arrived in front of the man with the golden wolf mask, he knelt down. What's going on? Where are the others? The man with the golden wolf mask said coldly, Sir, the rest of them are dead. They were killed by Lu Ming. The information we received is wrong. Lu Ming is not half crippled. One of the Silivera wolf assassins said. Not crippled? Then, can he still use beast souls? The Golden Wolf Killer asked. I don't think so. Although he killed so many of our people, Lu Ming's injuries are definitely not light. Under such circumstances, he did not use his beast soul. I think he must have used up all his beast souls. One of the Silivera wolf killers speculated. Good, there's no beast soul. That's good. Lu Ming is dead for sure. The 2 of you, come with me to kill Lu Ming, the Golden Wolf Killer ordered. Previously, he did not attack together with Lu Ming as he was afraid that Lu Ming still had beast souls on him. Hence, he sent someone to test him first. Now that it was confirmed that Lu Ming did not have a beast soul, he was about to make his move. Yes. The 2 Silivera wolf killers responded. The 3 figures disappeared without a trace. In the Supreme Shrine, Lu Ming was refining the blood essence with all his might. Fortunately, most of the injuries he had suffered were external injuries, so they were relatively easy to treat. When the blood essence turned into rolling energy and was refined by Lu Ming, his injuries healed rapidly. His muscles squirmed and the wound began to heal. Soon, Lu Ming's wound had begun to scab. This was also because Lu Ming's physical body had reached complete grade 2, which was why he could be so fast. Ordinary people would definitely not be able to be so fast. 2 days later, Lu Ming's injuries had fully recovered and his cultivation level had improved. I'm afraid the Shadow Wolf Pavilion won't give up so easily. They'll definitely send more people to hunt me down. I can't take the main road to the imperial capital. I'll travel along the barbaric mountains, where I can kill demonic beasts and improve my cultivation. I can also practice my martial arts. Lu Ming was deep in thought. After that, he left the Supreme Shrine, concealed his aura, and walked along the forest towards the imperial capital. However, not long after, Lu Ming felt a terrifying pressure coming from afar. Whoosh! A beam of light shot through the air. Within the light was a man wearing a golden wolf mask and a black robe. A martial grandmaster powerhouse, the Golden Wolf Killer of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. The Golden Wolf Killers of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion were all powerhouses above the martial arts grandmaster level. Lu Ming could not defeat them at all. Let's go. Without the slightest hesitation, Lu Ming used his mid-air steps to its maximum and ran madly into the depths of the forest. Hey, Lu Ming, I don't know what method you've used, but you've been hiding for 2 days. Now, you finally can't hide anymore and have appeared. Let's see where you can run to this time. The Golden Wolf Killer let out an ear-piercing sneer. Lu Ming ran wildly. He stepped on the trees and his body shot forward like a bolt of lightning. He was as fast as a phantom. However, the Golden Wolf Killer was a martial arts grandmaster powerhouse. He could walk in the air at a speed that was beyond the scope of mortals. Lu Ming could not shake him off at all. Die. Buzz. A beam of sword chi pierced through the void and headed for Lu Ming. It was fast, ruthless, and its power was terrifying. Dodge, I have to dodge. Lu Ming growled. His body kept changing and he barely dodged the sword. However, he was also hit by the sword edge, and a part of his sleeve disappeared. You actually dodged my sword. What about now? The Golden Wolf Killer sneered and waved his sword. Kai Kai. There were more than a dozen sword chi, and each of them was extremely powerful. Ancient shield. Lu Ming shouted and an ancient shield appeared. Clang. The sword chi struck the shield, causing it to shake violently before exploding. Lu Ming's body was also sent flying back dozens of meters, crashing into a big tree that was large enough for a person to wrap his arms around. At this moment, the sound of air being torn could be heard. 2 figures were approaching at extreme speed. They were the 2 Silivera wolf killers. Lu Ming, you won't be able to escape this time. One of the Silivera wolf killers laughed. Shadow Wolf Pavilion, I don't care who you are. As long as I, Lu Ming, am alive, I'll destroy the Shadow Wolf Pavilion. Lu Ming growled, turned around, and continued to run into the depths of the forest. You still want to destroy my Shadow Wolf Pavilion? How naive. The Golden Wolf Killer sneered and continued his pursuit in the sky. Behind the golden mask, a cold gaze was revealed. He was looking for an opportunity to kill in one strike. For a genius like Lu Ming, even someone as powerful as him did not dare to show the slightest neglect. Otherwise, he would most likely be the one who suffered. It's at this moment. The Golden Wolf Killer's eyes suddenly lit up. The sword in his hand glowed, and a bright and sharp sword chi pierced out. The Golden Wolf Killer had used all his strength in this strike, and it was unbelievably fast. Moreover, it seemed that he had already calculated Lu Ming's running route. It was as if Lu Ming was going to crash into the sword aura directly. Not good. Lu Ming's heart was beating rapidly and the hair on his body stood on end. At this moment, he could feel the aura of death. It was as if the Grim Reaper was pointing a sickle at him. I can't dodge it. Block it. I must block this sword. I can't die yet, he thought. Lu Ming roared in his heart. His eyes were bloodshot. In an instant, the power of his blood meridian burst out. At the same time, an ancient shield appeared. Explode. Lu Ming thrust his long spear forward. The tip of the spear emitted a bright light, as if there was a bright star at the tip of Lu Ming's spear. A terrifying fluctuation burst out. This was the strongest move that Lu Ming could cast at the moment, and it blasted toward the sword chi above his head. Buzz. All of a sudden, a ray of white light flew out from the depths of the forest. Like a flying immortal from beyond the heavens, it also blasted towards the Golden Wolf Killer's sword chi. Boom. Lu Ming's attack combined with the white light and collided with the Golden Wolf Killer's sword aura. Violent energy shot out in all directions, and the trees, flowers, and grass in the mountain forest were instantly crushed to pieces. Lu Ming felt a strong surge of energy and his body flew back dozens of meters. However, it had also blocked the Golden Wolf Killer's attack. Who helped me? Lu Ming's heart stirred. Who is it? You dare to block me? Are you looking for death? The Golden Wolf Killer roared. In the depths of the mountain forest, a white figure flashed out. The person who came was actually a young woman in a white dress. Her skin was like jade, and she was extremely beautiful. Seeing this woman, Lu Ming was shocked. He could not help but blurt out, "Xian Yanqing, it's you." The young woman's eyes flickered as she looked at Lu Ming and shouted, "Come with me." With that, her figure flickered, like a fairy from the 9 heavens, and she ran into the depths of the forest. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he quickly followed. Chapter 194. Chapter 194, The Woman in White. 54969039. You want to leave? None of you will be able to leave today. The Golden Wolf Killer roared and gave chase. Below him, the 2 Silivera wolf killers quickly followed behind. In just a dozen breaths, he had covered a few hundred meters and arrived at a forest of purple bamboo. At this point, the young woman stopped. "Xian Yanqing, let's go. The other party is a martial grandmaster. Even if we work together, we're no match for him." Lu Ming exclaimed softly, "I'm not Xian Yanqing." Suddenly, the young lady cast a glance at Lu Ming and said coldly. Lu Ming was stunned. Not Xian Yanqing? How was that possible? He looked exactly like Xian Yanqing. How could he not be? What was this girl up to this time? Wait a minute. That's not right. This woman is different from Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming took a closer look. Indeed, although this woman looked exactly the same as Xian Yanqing, there were still some differences. First of all, this woman should be older than Xian Yanqing by a year or 2. Xian Yanqing looked younger than Lu Ming, while this woman was about the same age as Lu Ming. Also, the temperament was completely different. Xian Yanqing was like a little devil. This woman, on the other hand, had a calm expression, like a fairy who was above the common populace. How can there be 2 people so similar in this world? Lu Ming secretly sighed. Buzz. The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. The Golden Wolf Killer flew to the sky above the purple bamboo forest. Behind him, 2 Silivera wolf killers also rushed over. "Haha, it turns out that she's such a beautiful lady. Good, good. It's a good time to kill this Lu Ming kid and have a good time." The Golden Wolf Killer's eyes lit up when he saw the young woman's face, and then revealed a burning light. He secretly exclaimed that he was really lucky to be able to meet such a peerless beauty when he was chasing after Lu Ming. This trip was not a waste. "You're looking for death." The Golden Wolf Killer's words made the young woman's eyes flash with cold killing intent. Her originally cold face became even colder. "Demon slaughtering array, rise." Suddenly, the young woman shouted and formed a seal with her hands. Runes appeared out of thin air and flew into the purple bamboo forest. Buzz. In the purple bamboo forest, there was a soft cry. Then, rays of white light shot into the sky. The white light gathered in the air and formed a white sword chi. As the sword chi moved, a shocking killing intent filled the air. Inscription formation. So you set up an inscription formation here. But so what if there is an inscription formation? You're just a Grandmaster Realm martial artist. What can you do to me? The Golden Wolf Killer sneered. Demon slaying formation, slay the demons. The young woman shouted and waved her hands. In the air, 3 white sword chi danced and made a terrible whistling sound, heading towards the Golden Wolf Killer. Demon slaughtering array? Let's see who you can kill. Break. The Golden Wolf Killer swung his sword, and 3 bright sword chi shot toward the white sword chi. Boom, boom, boom. The explosion sounded, but it did not break the young woman's inscription formation as the Golden Wolf Killer had expected. The sword chi collided and disappeared together. How can he be so strong? The Golden Wolf Killer was shocked. However, the young woman waved her hand again, and the white light in the purple bamboo forest grew brighter. In an instant, more than 10 white sword chi condensed in the air. Not good, you guys quickly retreat. The Golden Wolf Killer's face changed and he shouted at the 2 Silivera wolf killers. It's too late. The young woman's voice seemed to be emotionless and cold. As the voice fell, the white sword chi in the air also crossed the void. 2 shrieks were heard as the 2 7th-grade Great Martial Master Silivera wolf assassins were pierced by the sword chi and died in the forest. At the same time, more sword chi rushed towards the Golden Wolf Killer. Detestable. The golden wolf killer roared in anger. With a flash of blood-red light, a giant black wolf appeared. There were 8 blood-red chakras on the huge wolf's body. This was the second bloodline awakening of the golden wolf killer. The second bloodline was a level 8 ordinary bloodline. With the eruption of his bloodline, the golden wolf killer's combat strength increased greatly, and he slashed out a dozen times in an instant. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the sky, sword chi crisscrossed. Streaks of black sword chi and white sword chi clashed, and terrifying sword chi shot out in all directions. Demon slaughtering array, god slaying. Go! The young woman shouted. Dazzling white light spread out from her body, making her look extremely holy. In the purple bamboo forest, the inscription formation was even more powerful. The sword chi seemed to appear endlessly, bombarding the golden wolf killer. Ah! Suddenly, there was a scream. Blood splattered everywhere as one of the golden wolf killer's arms was cut off. The golden wolf killer howled and became one with his sword. He turned into a bright sword light and shot up into the sky, out of the attack range of the inscription formation. Damn it! I'll remember today's great enmity. The two of you will face the endless pursuit of my shadow wolf pavilion. The golden wolf killer roared, filled with endless killing intent. Then, it turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the sky. What a pity! The young woman sighed softly, as if it was a pity that she couldn't make him stay. However, Lu Ming was extremely shocked. This woman's methods were truly astonishing. He had actually used an inscription formation to cut off one of the golden wolf killer's arms. Although the golden wolf killer's cultivation was at the first level of the martial ancestor realm. However, this woman's cultivation was only at the 6th grade Great Master realm. The gap between a martial grandmaster and a martial grandmaster was huge and difficult to cross. What a terrifying formation. Who is this woman? Lu Ming pondered secretly. All right, the other party has already left. You should leave too. The young woman looked at Lu Ming with her beautiful eyes. Her voice was still cold, like an unapproachable fairy. May I know why you saved me? Lu Ming said. He was a little curious. He had never met this woman before, so why did she spend so much effort to save him and even fight with a martial arts grandmaster? He didn't think that he had such great charm, and from the young woman's expression, it didn't seem to be because of his charm. Woo-woo. At this moment, a bolt of lightning flashed from the depths of the purple bamboo forest. No, that wasn't lightning. It was a leopard, a lightning leopard. Lightning leopard. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. He remembered that when he had just joined the mystical sword sect, he had let go of a lightning leopard cub and obtained a little lightning leopard blood during the assessment. Although the lightning leopard in front of him wasn't a cub, it was still very young and similar to the lightning leopard cub from before. Woo-woo. When the lightning leopard appeared, it glared at Lu Ming and barked a few times. Then, it moved closer to Lu Ming and rubbed its head against his thigh. Are you the one from back then? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Woo-woo. The lightning leopard nodded. It really was the lightning leopard cub from back then. What a coincidence. If you hadn't saved little Shan once, would I have saved you this time? The young woman's voice sounded. Chapter 195. Chapter 195. Cultivating in the Mountains. 5496903339. The young woman's voice was very cold as she continued, if it wasn't for little Shan recognizing you just now, I wouldn't have saved you. This is good. You saved little Shan once, and I saved you once. We don't owe each other anything. Lu Ming was speechless. This woman was too arrogant and cold. At the same time, Lu Ming understood that the reason why she had saved him was that the lightning leopard had discovered him. No matter what. This time, it's you who saved me. Lu Ming is grateful. I'll take my leave. Lu Ming cupped his fists and turned to leave. Wait a moment. Unexpectedly, the young woman called out. What's the matter, miss? Lu Ming turned around. I heard you call me Xian Yanqing. You're his friend, right? The young woman asked. Friend? Lu Ming could not help but recall his relationship with Xian Yanqing. When Xian Yanqing saw him, he would be considered lucky if he didn't attack him. How could he be a friend? Lu Ming shook his head. I've only met Xian Yanqing once. We can't be considered friends. I don't care if you're her friend or not. The next time you see her, help me tell her not to keep thinking about surpassing me, because that's just a waste of time. It's impossible, the young woman said. Her voice was filled with confidence and a sense of superiority. At the sight of this expression, Lu Ming did not know why, but he felt uncomfortable. May I know your relationship with Xian Yanqing? If I see her, I'll definitely tell her. Lu Ming said calmly, his voice turning cold. I'm Xian Yanjuan, her sister, the young woman said. As expected, no wonder they look exactly the same. Lu Ming's heart stirred. However, apart from their looks, the two sisters were very different in other aspects. All right, the Shadow Wolf Pavilion will definitely send more people to this place. I'm leaving, so you should leave too, Xian Yanjuan said indifferently. Young lady, why don't you go first? I'll leave in a while, Lu Ming said. Do as you please, Xian Yanjuan said indifferently. From the beginning to the end, he did not even look at the two Silivera wolf killers' bodies. She turned around and left, her white dress fluttering like a fairy from the 9 heavens. Is something left behind by a 7th grade great martial master not worth mentioning in her eyes? But I'm not going to miss this. Lu Ming walked toward the two Silivera wolf killers' corpses. He devoured the blood essence of the two and took off their storage rings. With a swift movement, Lu Ming left the place and headed deep into the forest. In the mountain forest, ancient trees towered into the sky. Lu Ming walked for more than 100 miles, then with a thought, he entered the supreme shrine and began to refine the blood essence. Not long after, the two 7th grade Grandmasters' blood meridians were refined by Lu Ming. His cultivation had also reached the middle stage of the 7th grade Grandmaster realm. After refining the blood essence, Lu Ming began to organize the storage rings that he had obtained from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion's assassins. There were a total of 8. In the end, he received more than 60 million taels of Silivera. Silivera was only a small number. The most important thing was the spiritual crystals. After sorting them out, there were more than 23,000 pieces. In addition to the previous ones, Lu Ming had nearly 40,000 pieces of spiritual crystals. Other than Silivera and spirit crystals, the rest were miscellaneous items that were not of much help to Lu Ming. Hey! Is this a disguise? Suddenly, Lu Ming found a disguise among the clothes and other miscellaneous items. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion was an assassin organization, and they often had to disguise themselves to assassinate people. It was normal for them to have a disguise on them. Lu Ming took a closer look and realized that the disguise was of very good quality. It should be made from the skin of a demon beast. Lu Ming put on his disguise. There was no feeling at all, as if he was not wearing it, because it was very light. I wonder how the effect is. Let's go out and take a look. Lu Ming walked out of the Supreme Shrine and found a pool in the forest. He shone his light on the pool and saw a dark-skinned, cold-looking young man in his 20s. What an amazing disguise. He's a completely different person. Lu Ming took a closer look and realized that the disguise was tightly stuck to his face. He could not tell that he was wearing a disguise. Then, change it again. With a single thought, Lu Ming's body crackled and his bone armor wriggled. In the end, Lu Ming's height actually increased by a little and his figure became a little burlier. This was something that could only be done when Lu Ming's physical body had reached complete 2nd grade. It could cause slight changes to his physical body. Although the change was not huge, with the help of the disguise, Lu Ming seemed to have completely changed into a different person. Even his closest people would not be able to recognize him. Good. This way, I won't have to worry about the Shadow Wolf Pavilion's pursuit. Moreover, no one will recognize me if I go to the imperial capital. It'll be more convenient for me to investigate my father's matter. Lu Ming pondered. Next, Lu Ming continued to head deep into the mountains. According to his previous plan, he would cultivate while heading to the imperial capital. Now, Lu Ming's cultivation had 3 main directions. One was the comprehension of the force of fire, the other was the soaring steps, and the last was the ancient shield art. Raw. 7 days later, A Class 6 Lever 3 demonic beast covered in scales was pierced through the throat by Lu Ming's spear. It fell to the ground with a roar. His spirit-devouring bloodline activated and devoured the demonic beast's blood essence. At the same time, the demonic pill appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Lu Ming used all the blood essence to increase the level of his blood vessels, while the demonic core was used to increase his cultivation. Just like that, he hunted demonic beasts as he made his way to the imperial capital. A month later, a gale sparrow flapped its wings in the air and fled frantically. Behind it, Lu Ming stepped on the void and followed closely behind it like lightning. Buzz! Buzz! Lu Ming's body seemed to be weightless as he floated in the air. After flying for a few hundred meters, Lu Ming's figure slowly descended. After landing, Lu Ming stepped on the tip of a big tree and his body shot up into the sky like an arrow, chasing after the gale sparrow. The gale sparrow was so frightened that it screeched and flew around desperately. However, no matter what it did, it could not get rid of Lu Ming. Ha ha ha! Lu Ming laughed heartily. After flying for a few miles, he landed on the peak of a mountain and sat down cross-legged. After more than a month of hard work, Lu Ming's mid-air steps had reached the peak of the 5th level. He was only a step away from the 6th level. Just now, when he was chasing the gale sparrow, he suddenly had an epiphany. The wind is invisible, but it is everywhere. Wind, light and agile, erratic yet swift as lightning. Lu Ming closed his eyes and started to comprehend quietly. The principle of airwalk was to use the genuine qi in one's body to resonate with the wind and air to achieve the purpose of riding the wind for a short time. Lu Ming smiled as he felt the breeze from the top of the mountain. A green breeze surrounded his body, spinning slowly. Lu Ming's body was as light as a feather, as if he would be blown away by the wind at any time. After an unknown amount of time, buzz! Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes and took a step forward. There was a cliff in front of him, but Lu Ming seemed to be walking on the ground. He walked forward step by step. Chapter 196. Chapter 196. Chapter 196 The Wind and the Capital of the Burning Sun Kingdom. 54969039. Lu Ming put his hands behind his back and walked in the air as if he was walking on flat ground. I finally reached the 6th level of the soaring steps, martial arts and human as one. There was a faint smile on Lu Ming's face. Lu Ming was only a 4th grade Great Martial Master and had only become a Great Martial Master not long ago. Yet, he had already cultivated a black grade high-level martial arts technique to the state of being one with martial arts. If this news were to spread, many people's jaws would drop. It seems that I'm indeed a peerless genius. Lu Ming laughed smugly. In the past, he had the sound of chanting, which allowed him to cultivate his martial arts techniques at a rapid speed. However, the sound of chanting had disappeared. Lu Ming only fought with him every day, and his cultivation speed did not slow down. It was clear that Lu Ming's own talent was extremely shocking. Buzz! Buzz! Lu Ming took one step at a time. His figure was like a bolt of lightning, crossing the void. In the blink of an eye, he was a few hundred meters away. However, there was no sign of him falling. Lu Ming continued to walk in the air. There was a faint feeling of lightness and uncertainty about his body. Wind force, is this the wind force? Lu Ming muttered to himself. Previously, when he had comprehended and broken through the sky steps, he had taken advantage of the situation and comprehended a little bit of wind force. Although it was only a superficial one, Lu Ming was already ecstatic. Normal people only had the right to comprehend it at the martial ancestor realm. However, Lu Ming's fire force had already reached the initial success stage and he had even comprehended the second kind of energy. Wind force. In the future, when wind and fire were combined, the power would definitely be even more shocking. He circulated the force of the wind and combined it with the soaring steps, causing the power of the soaring steps to reach an astonishing level. Lu Ming stepped on the air and walked for a full 2 kilometers before he slowly landed. Originally, even if he had cultivated his sky steps to the 6th level, it would be considered good if he could walk 1,000 meters in the air. Gah! All of a sudden, a screech came from below. Then, a golden goshawk soared up. With a flap of its wings, golden feathers shot toward Lu Ming like golden divine swords. A Class 7 Lever 3 demonic beast, the golden-feathered goshawk. Finally, I've encountered a decent demonic beast. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The next moment, two ancient shields appeared in front of Lu Ming. Clang! Clang! The golden feathers hit the shield, making a sound of metal hitting metal and sparks flying in the air. However, the shield in front of Lu Ming did not move. Kill! Wind and fire! Lu Ming thrust his spear forward. The spear carried a scorching aura. At the same time, with the help of the momentum of the wind helped the fire, causing Lu Ming's long spear to completely turn into a flaming long spear. The spear broke through all obstacles and pierced into the golden-feathered goshawk's chest. The violent energy instantly tore the golden feather goshawk's internal organs apart. The golden feather goshawk let out a sharp cry and stopped breathing. He had killed a Class 7 Lever 3 demonic beast with one spear strike. The power of the combination of wind and fire is actually so shocking. Lu Ming's face was filled with surprise. Right now, wind force was only at the beginning, and he had only comprehended a tiny bit of it. It could be imagined that if his comprehension of wind force became more and more profound, when combined with fire force, the power it displayed would definitely be greater. However, wind and fire are supposed to complement each other, which is why they can be combined so easily. If they were two opposing forces, it would not be so easy to combine them. Lu Ming was very clear. Moreover, this was only a preliminary combination. They were only supporting each other and not a true fusion. Now, I finally have some ability to protect myself when facing a martial arts grandmaster. Lu Ming thought to himself. In the past, when he faced a martial arts grandmaster, he would not be able to escape even if he used all his strength. However, Lu Ming had more confidence now. Lu Ming continued to cultivate as he made his way to the imperial capital. Lu Ming was not in a hurry. Hence, he spent another half a month before he arrived at the imperial capital. In front of them, a huge object appeared. It was boundless and stretched across the world as if it had existed since ancient times. When he walked in, he realized that it was even bigger. The Black City Wall was 100 meters tall and extended into the sky. He couldn't even see how long the city wall was. It seemed to be endless. It was said that the capital of the Blazing Sun Kingdom was 100 miles long in the east, west, south, and north. It was extremely majestic. On the city wall stood rows of soldiers in armor. Every soldier exuded a powerful aura. The capital of the Burning Sun Empire was the largest city in the empire. It was the core of the imperial family's power. It was said that 800 years ago, the Burning Sun royal family was the most powerful force in the Sun Empire. All the major sects had to bow down to the royal family. At that time, the Burning Sun royal family ruled the world. The Burning Sun Empire ruled over 10,000 cities, and their strength was at its peak. Unfortunately, the Burning Sun Empire's royal family had internal strife and endless wars. Later on, their strength weakened, and the sect rose. Especially the 10 Direction Sword School, they had taken control of the royal family and their strength had increased to a terrifying level. The Burning Sun royal family would not be able to make a comeback. Right now, the people of the Blazing Sun Empire only cared about the 5 great sects. The influence of the imperial family was already very weak. Lu Ming walked along the main road and entered the imperial capital. The streets of the imperial capital were extremely wide, and even if 10 carriages were to travel side by side, it would not be a problem. On both sides of the street, there were shops, elixir stores, weapon refining pavilions, and so on. It was not something that Fiery Wind City could compare to. Even Profound Sword City could not compare to it. The streets were bustling with people. Lu Ming looked around curiously as he walked forward. The capital of the Burning Sun Kingdom is so big. How should I investigate my father's news? Lu Ming pondered. For a moment, he had no clue at all. Hua Kai said that he's in the imperial capital, so perhaps he's someone from the imperial capital. If I can find him and ask him about the specific situation in the imperial capital and the division of power, it'll be of great help to my next operation. However, What made Lu Ming dumbfounded was that he had no idea how to find Hua Kai. Forget it. There's a lot of information in the restaurant. Let's go to the restaurant first. We'll find out more information while we eat. Lu Ming was planning to look for a restaurant when the streets were in chaos. Not good, Hua Jie is here to walk his war beast again. What? Hurry up and run. On the streets, the crowd was in chaos. The crowd ran away, all of them with fear on their faces. Roar. Suddenly, a deafening beast's roar was heard. Then, at the end of the street, a huge creature was running towards them. It was a demonic beast, 3 meters tall and 6 to 7 meters long. Its body was covered in fiery red scales, and it was running wildly on the street with a murderous aura. First-class 3rd level, armor-breaking beast. Lu Ming recognized the demonic beast's origin and level at one glance. Haha, charge, hurry up and charge. Behind the armor-breaking beasts, there was a group of people on horses, shouting loudly. As the armor-breaking beast ran, the pedestrians on the street retreated at the sight of it. Even some experts at the Grandmaster realm and above had their expressions change and quickly retreated to the side. Mother, where are you? Ling is scared. Suddenly, in the middle of the street, a little girl's cry rang out. Chapter 197. Chapter 197. Chapter 197 Releasing Beasts to Eat People. 549690339. In the middle of the street, a little girl of 4 or 5 years old with pigtails was crying with a stick of candied haws in her hand. The armor-breaking beast was charging at the little girl. Ling who will save my Ling? Not far away, a woman screamed in fear and ran towards the little girl. However, she was obviously not a martial artist, so there was no time at all. None of the other martial artists in the surroundings made a move. The eyes of those martial artists were filled with fear. Roar. The armor-breaking beast clearly saw the little girl. With a roar and a bloodthirsty glint in its eyes, it ran toward the little girl. In the blink of an eye, he was already close to the little girl. The armor-breaking beast opened its mouth and bit the little girl. Its huge mouth was big enough to swallow a little girl. Behind them, the people on the horses laughed. Armorbreaker, enjoy it. A young man in a gold-threaded robe shouted excitedly. At this moment, the little girl had already forgotten to cry. She was just staring blankly at him. Clearly, she was shocked. Ling. The woman let out a shrill cry. Lu Ming frowned. They actually released beasts to eat people on the streets. Was this still the Imperial City? Just as the armor-breaking beast was about to bite the little girl, Lu Ming moved. His figure swayed slightly and he appeared beside the little girl. He reached out to hold the little girl and drifted backward. Roar. Seeing that the fat meat in its mouth had been snatched away, the armor-breaking beast roared angrily and pounced at Lu Ming with a murderous look in its eyes. Get lost. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly widened and he shouted loudly. A fiendish aura that was stronger than the armor-breaking beast's burst out. The armor-breaking beast roared with fear in its eyes. Like a frightened puppy, it ran away. Who's there? You dare to stop this young master's war beast from eating, you're courting death. A furious roar rang out. Ta. 7 or 8 war horses galloped over. The person in the lead was the young man in the gold-threaded robe. The young man's face was slightly pale. His eyes were malicious as he stared at Lu Ming coldly. Roar. The armor-splitting beast stood in front of the golden-robed young man. It seemed to have grown bolder and growled at Lu Ming. Little sister, are you all right? Lu Ming did not even look at the other party. Instead, he smiled at the little girl in his arms. I'm fine, Linga is fine. Thank you, big brother, the little girl said obediently. At this moment, the woman had already run over. To Lu Ming's surprise, the woman did not look at the little girl immediately. Instead, she knelt down in front of the golden-robed young man and shouted, Little prince, I beg you to let Linga go. Linga is only 5 years old. Bitch, go to the side and die. Beside the golden-robed young man, a thin-faced young man shouted coldly. He pulled out the soft whip in his hand and whipped the woman's body. Immediately, a bloody mark appeared on the woman's body, and blood oozed out, dyeing her clothes red. "Mother!" the little girl shouted. However, the woman ignored him and struggled to get up. She continued to kowtow to the young man in the golden robe and shouted, "Little prince, I beg you, please do a good deed and let Linga go." Thump, thump, thump. The woman's forehead hit the ground. Her forehead was broken and blood flowed out. What's the use of kowtowing? That little girl is dead for sure. That's right, how can the food that the Huajie war beast has its eyes on be settled by kowtowing? It's a pity for that young man. He probably just arrived at the imperial capital, but he actually interfered in this matter. I'm afraid his end will be miserable. He can only blame his bad luck. Whispers came from the surroundings. His voice was very soft as he was afraid that Hua Jie would hear him. However, what was Lu Ming's cultivation level? He still heard every single word. But he just smiled. The woman continued to kowtow. On the war horse, the golden-robed young man, Hua Jie, furrowed his brows. His narrow eyes were filled with killing intent. "I told you to get lost, didn't you hear me?" The thin-faced young man's face revealed a ferocious expression as he whipped the woman again. Lu Ming frowned. He reached out and grabbed the soft whip. "Brat, how dare you interfere when I didn't look for you? Now, kneel down and slap yourself 100 times. Put down this little girl obediently and get lost." The thin-faced young man pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. Lu Ming's eyes darkened and he looked at the thin-faced young man coldly. "Kid, why aren't you letting go? Alright, since that's the case, you'll also become food for my young master's war beasts." The thin-faced young man pulled on the soft whip, but found that it didn't move at all, so he immediately shouted again. "Do you usually feed your war beasts with humans?" Lu Ming asked coldly. "So what if I am? These lowlifes are just like ants. To be able to become the food of my young master's war beast, it's their good fortune that they've cultivated for several lifetimes." The thin-faced young man shouted arrogantly. He did not take Lu Ming seriously at all. "What are you talking about? Hurry up and kill this kid, can't you see that Armorbreaker is hungry?" At this moment, Hua Jie said indifferently. There was a hint of impatience in his voice. The thin-faced young man's expression changed drastically. He looked at Lu Ming ferociously and shouted, "Brat, then I'll send you on your way." With that, he leaped off his warhorse and pounced at Lu Ming like an eagle. His momentum was not weak. First-grade Great Martial Master Realm. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This thin-faced young man was not even 30 years old, but his cultivation was already at the first-grade Great Martial Master Realm. However, in front of Lu Ming, it was not enough. He flicked the soft whip in his hand, and a powerful true chi burst out and rushed along the soft whip. The thin-faced young man was still holding the soft whip in one hand. He suddenly felt a surge of power from the soft whip. This power rushed into his palm and almost caused it to explode. A terrifying wound appeared. He also let go of the soft whip. Buzz! Lu Ming swung the soft whip like a snake. It rolled out and wrapped around the thin-faced young man's neck. Then, with a swing, the thin-faced young man fell to the ground heavily, stirring up a cloud of dust. With just one move, the thin-faced first-grade Great Martial Master Realm young man was lying on the ground like a dead dog. Gasps could be heard all around. So powerful. He settled it in one move. What's so amazing about it? He dared to beat up Hua Jie's men, his finished. It seems that this young man is indeed here for the first time. You're right, Hua Jie will never let him go. At this moment, the thin-faced young man let out an ear-piercing scream. "Oh, really? Since that's the case, I'll feed you to the demonic beast." Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He flicked the soft whip in his hand and the thin-faced young man's body flew towards the armor-breaking beast. At the same time, the blood on the thin-faced young man's hand also splashed into the armor-breaking beast's mouth. Stimulated by the blood chi, the armor-breaking beast let out a roar, and the bloodthirsty light in its eyes became even stronger. Roar! With a roar, it opened its bloody mouth and bit at the thin-faced young man. "No, no, don't. The thin-faced young man was so scared that his soul almost flew away as he frantically shouted, "Linger, don't look." Lu Ming blocked the little girl's eyes. Poochie. The armor-breaking beast bit off one of the thin-faced young man's arms. Chapter 198. Chapter 198. Chapter 198. An eye for an eye. 5496903339. Ah! The thin-faced young man let out a shrill scream. Roar! The armor-breaking beast roared, and its bloodthirsty light became even more intense. Armor breaker, stop! Hua Jie roared on his war horse. However, the armor-breaking beast had bitten off one of its arms. The stimulation of its blood made it go berserk. It ignored Hua Jie's words and continued to pounce on the thin-faced young man. Ah! Ah! Help! Help! The thin-faced young man screamed and wanted to escape, but he was wrapped by the soft whip and could not escape at all. Lu Ming pulled the soft whip and the thin-faced young man flew toward him. The armor-breaking beast roared and continued to pounce. Lu Ming put the little girl down and took a step forward, pressing his palm on the armor-breaking beast's head. Boom! The armor-breaking beast's huge body was pressed down on the ground by Lu Ming, causing cracks to appear on the ground. The armor-breaking beast roared and struggled, but it was to no avail. The thin-faced young man shouted. He looked at Lu Ming in shock. There was some doubt in his eyes. He did not know why Lu Ming wanted to save him. Don't misunderstand, I don't mean to save you. I just want you to feel what it's like to be eaten by a demonic beast. Lu Ming said indifferently, his voice void of any emotion. No, don't, please let me go. The thin-faced young man screamed. Let you go? No, to be able to become the food of your family's young master's demonic beast, it's a blessing that you've cultivated for several lifetimes. I must fulfill your wish. Lu Ming smiled faintly. This sentence was what the thin-faced young man had said just now. No, no, I'm just talking nonsense. Just take it as a fart and let it go, the thin-faced young man said in a trembling voice. Enough. On his warhorse, Hua Jie's face was extremely gloomy. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Brat, this farce ends here. 3 breaths, in 3 breaths, destroy your own cultivation and kowtow to me 18 times. Then, I'll let today's matter rest. His words surprised the people around him. Hua Jie was willing to let Lu Ming go. This was a rare occurrence. It seemed that Hua Jie was a little afraid of Lu Ming. Hua Jie sat on his warhorse and looked down at Lu Ming. In his opinion, he was already doing Lu Ming a great favor by offering such a condition. However, Lu Ming did not seem to appreciate it. All of you, get out of my sight now, and I'll let this go. Lu Ming shouted. This made the surrounding people dumbfounded. Tell Hua Jie to get lost. It seemed that he really knew nothing about Hua Jie's identity. At the side, the woman held Linger tightly and shivered as if she was extremely afraid. Hua Jie was stunned for a moment. Then, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world, he laughed and said, Tell me to get lost. Ha ha ha, good. Now, you have lost your only chance to live. Kill him. Yes. Behind Hua Jie, 6 figures jumped off their war horses. The 6 middle-aged men's eyes were bright, and as they rose, their auras exploded. They were all great martial masters. The weakest of them was at the 2nd grade Great Martial Master realm, while the strongest had reached the 3rd grade Great Martial Master realm. 3 2nd grade Great Martial Masters and 3 3rd grade Great Martial Masters joined forces, and their might was astonishing. They wanted to kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. However, Lu Ming only glanced at them indifferently and then waved his palm. On his palm, there was a flash of spirit. Lu Ming had already incorporated the force of the wind into it, making his palm move at an unbelievable speed. Pa pa pa. The crowd only heard 6 slaps and then saw the 6 burly men flying back at a speed faster than their pounce. They fell heavily on the ground like 6 broken gunny sacks. Everyone saw that the left side of each of the 6 burly men's face was swollen, and a palm print could be clearly seen. CCGU. The sound of cold gasps rang out. Many people's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as they looked on in shock. A single slap had sent 6 great experts flying. They were all second or third grade great martial masters. Lu Ming looked to be in his 20s, but he was so terrifying. Where did this young expert come from? It was too shocking. The thin-faced young man was stunned, and his eyes were filled with despair. Even the armor-breaking beast was shocked. The bloodlust in its eyes receded and was replaced by fear as it kept retreating. Hua Jie was also stunned. After a while, he finally reacted and shouted angrily, "Little bastard, you still dare to fight back? You're dead. I'm going to chop you up and feed you to the demonic beast. They all want my life, and I can't even fight back." Lu Ming sneered. His eyes were cold as he walked toward Hua Jie. It was ridiculous. He really did not know what Hua Jie was thinking. Did he think that he was born nobler than others, that he could insult others and take their lives at will, and others could not fight back and just wait for him to take them away? It was laughable. What do you want to do? Hua Jie's face was extremely gloomy. The murderous intent in his eyes was so strong that it could not be dispersed. He could not wait to tear Lu Ming into pieces. What do you want? Don't you like to feed other people's lives to those animals of yours? I really want to know, when you become that beast's food, what kind of expression will you have? Lu Ming walked toward Hua Jie step by step and smiled faintly. You dare? Do you know who I am? If you dare to do this, I'll exterminate your entire family. Hua Jie shouted. Who are you? It's none of my business. Lu Ming replied indifferently. So you don't know who I am? Let me tell you, I'm the son of the Heavenly King. Don't you know that my father is the Heavenly King? If you kneel down and admit your mistake now, you can still live. Hua Jie continued to shout, his eyes flashing with ruthlessness. It turned out that Lu Ming did not know his identity. Now that he had revealed his identity, he believed that Lu Ming would be scared to death. However, he was disappointed. Lu Ming had no intention of stopping. He did not even bat an eye. It seemed that the Heavenly King's name had no effect on Lu Ming. Hua Jie's expression changed. It was extremely ugly and he was flustered. Gritting his teeth, Hua Jie said, "All right, just you wait. I will not let you off. Let's go. Leave. Did I say you could leave?" Lu Ming's calm voice was heard. He moved and appeared in front of Hua Jie. "Kid, don't be so ungrateful. I swear, if you dare to touch me today, I will make sure you die without a burial place." Hua Jie roared. "Is that so?" Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. "Then I'll have to try even more." Lu Ming's palm glowed red and he grabbed at Hua Jie. "Stop, young man. Let me give you a piece of advice. My young master is not someone you can provoke." The 6 burly men rushed over again and one of them roared. "You don't know your place. Woo woo woo." Lu Ming used his finger as a spear and stabbed out. 6 spear lights burst out. Bang bang. The 6 burly men roared and tried their best to block, but it was useless. They were once again sent flying and coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Hua Jie's expression changed. "Now, no one can stop me." Lu Ming clawed at Hua Jie. "Ah!" Hua Jie bellowed and wanted to resist. However, all his attacks were destroyed in an instant. Lu Ming grabbed his throat. Chapter 199. Chapter 199. Peed his pants in fear. 54969039. Ah. Hua Jie struggled madly. However, he was like a little chick in Lu Ming's hands. He could not put up any resistance. Silence. At this moment, the air between heaven and earth seemed to have frozen. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in a daze. Even after knowing Hua Jie's identity, Lu Ming was still so bold that he dared to hold Hua Jie's throat. Even the elites of the 5 sects didn't have the guts to do so. This was because this was the imperial capital after all, the imperial family's genius. "Let go of the young prince." The 6 burly men rushed over, not caring about their injuries. "If you don't want him to die, then go ahead and attack," Lu Ming said. The 6 burly men immediately stopped. Lu Ming's figure moved and he appeared in front of the armor-breaking beast. Roar! The armor-breaking beast seemed to be very afraid of Lu Ming as it slowly retreated. Lu Ming flicked his finger and a ray of spear light pierced through the scales on the armor-breaking beast's body, causing blood to flow out. Roar. The armor-breaking beast was injured and let out an angry roar. Its eyes were red and it was filled with a murderous aura. Come on. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and sent Hua Jie to the mouth of the armor-breaking beast. However, the armor-breaking beast looked at Hua Jie hesitantly. It seemed to be afraid of Hua Jie. Lu Ming smiled and cut Hua Jie's arm with his hand. A stream of blood flew into the armor-breaking beast's mouth. Roar. The armor-breaking beast went crazy after being injured and now, with blood in its mouth, it opened its mouth and roared. It was filled with bloodlust and its eyes were filled with greed as it stared at Hua Jie. No, don't. Hua Jie screamed desperately. He was almost scared out of his wits, and his whole body was trembling. I believe many people have been eaten by your demonic beasts. Now, your armor-breaking beast has eaten you. You deserve it. Lu Ming said indifferently. Everyone in the surroundings was extremely shocked as they looked at this scene with their mouths agape. Lu Ming was too bold. He actually wanted the armor-breaking beast to devour Hua Jie. There were also many people who were cheering in their hearts. Hua Jie had used his status to commit all sorts of evil in the imperial city. It could be said that he had angered the heavens and resented the people, but no one dared to say anything. This was because his father was the heavenly king of suppression. It was known as heaven suppressing, so one could imagine how powerful it was. Most importantly, the heavenly king and the 10 Direction Sword School had a very close relationship. Roar. The armor-breaking beast roared and pounced forward, biting at Hua Jie. Don't. The 6 middle-aged men roared. Ah. Hua Jie let out an extremely miserable shriek. He was extremely resentful and miserable. After that, a foul stench came out. Hua Jie was so scared that he peed his pants. Lu Ming smiled faintly and took a step back. The armor-breaking beast missed. Ah. Hua Jie continued to scream. After a while, he realized that everything was fine and stopped. Then, he realized that the people around him were looking at him strangely. Their faces were all red, and they obviously wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. At the same time, a foul smell entered Hua Jie's nose. In an instant, his face changed from pale to green, and then to red. At this moment, he wished he could find a hole in the ground to hide in. Damn it, damn it. Hua Jie roared in his heart. A young prince who would let a demonic beast eat others for no reason. It turns out that he only has this much courage. He was so scared that he peed his pants. Today, I've learned something new, ha ha ha. Lu Ming casually threw Hua Jie aside. He did not even look at Hua Jie and left laughing. In fact, he had no intention of killing Hua Jie from the very beginning. The main reason he came to the imperial city was to investigate his father. If he killed Hua Jie, the heavenly king would definitely go crazy, and it would be difficult for him to stay in the imperial city. Now, he was only teaching Hua Jie a lesson. The enmity he had created was only between Hua Jie and the younger generation. The heavenly king was too embarrassed to interfere. At least on the surface, she was embarrassed. Lu Ming was not afraid of the younger generation. Damn it, I swear I'll kill you no matter who you are. Hua Jie was roaring in his heart, but he did not dare to voice it out for fear that Lu Ming would come back. Whoever dares to spread the word about what happened today, I will kill his entire family. After Lu Ming had gone far away, Hua Jie looked at the crowd around him and shouted angrily. The crowd was disdainful. This Hua Jie was really a bully. He peed his pants in front of Lu Ming. After Lu Ming left, he started to show off his might again. However, they were not as bold as Lu Ming and could only nod their heads. Let's go. Hua Jie called out and left in a hurry. He needed to find a place to change his pants. Lu Ming did not look for a restaurant in this area. He planned to walk further and find a place to rest. Brother, please wait. After walking for a while, he suddenly heard a shout from behind. Lu Ming was curious. He stopped and turned around. Behind him, 2 people were striding toward him. There were 2 young people and a woman. She was about 18 or 19 years old and was slightly older than Lu Ming. She was very beautiful. There was also a young man around 15 or 16 years old. He looked similar to the woman, with red lips and white teeth. He was very handsome. Lu Ming's eyebrows moved slightly. He did not know these 2 people. He did not know why they were looking for him. Could they be Hua Jie's men? Are you 2 looking for me? Lu Ming asked. That's right. I'm Mingzhu, and I admire you for teaching Hua Jie a lesson earlier. That's why I'd like to get to know you. The young woman cupped her fists. My name is Ming Feng. My name is Ming Feng. What's your name, brother? It was so satisfying just now. I wanted to help, but my sister stopped me. The youth called out, appearing very lively. Their eyes were pure and they had no ill intentions. What they wanted to say was true. I'm Tianyun. Lu Ming muttered to himself. Tianyun was the reverse of Lu Yuntian's name. Since he had changed his appearance, he naturally had to change his name as well. So it's Brother Tian. Brother Tian, you look young, but your cultivation is so profound that it's truly admirable. You're not afraid of Hua Jie at all, and you even attacked him. I'm ashamed of you. Mingzhu said. You're too polite. It was just a small effort just now. It's nothing. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Big brother Tianyun, you're too humble. I don't have that kind of cultivation. Otherwise, I would have taught that Hua Jie a lesson. Ha ha ha, he actually peed his pants just now. That was really fun. It will definitely cause a sensation in the imperial capital in the future. Ming Feng laughed loudly. He was really good at pulling strings and directly called him Big Brother Tianyun. Lu Ming did not mind. He just smiled. Brother Tian, this should be your first time coming to the imperial city, right? Mingzhu asked. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. Mingzhu nodded her head, and with an expression that said as expected, she continued, Brother Tian, even though that Hua Jie is a good-for-nothing rich kid and is not worth mentioning, his father is the Heavenly Suppression King. You must be careful. Heavenly King Zhen? Is he very strong? Lu Ming asked. To be honest, he had not heard of the Heavenly Suppression King before. Strong, of course he's strong. A hint of fear flashed in Mingzhu's eyes, and she said, Heavenly Suppression King is the elder brother of the current emperor. His cultivation is extremely profound, and he is in charge of more than half of the world's military power. He has never been defeated. It is said that his relationship with the 10 Direction Sword School is also extraordinary. Oh, he's really an important person. Lu Ming smiled slightly, showing no fear. Chapter 200. Chapter 200. Chapter 200 General Star Hall. 5496903339. Even if he knew what kind of person the Heavenly King was, he would still do what he had to do. Seeing Lu Ming's calm demeanor, she was secretly impressed. Big Brother Tianyun, are you also here to join the General Star Hall? Ming Feng suddenly asked. General Star's Hall? Lu Ming was stunned and full of doubts. That's right. The General Star's Hall is a place established by the royal family to specially gather all the geniuses in the world. It's the place with the most geniuses in the Blazing Sun Empire, aside from the 5 great sect. Ming Feng replied. There's actually such a place. Lu Ming's expression changed. Brother Tian, if you've come to the imperial city to handle some matters, then you'll be leaving very soon. That's fine, but if you plan on staying permanently in the imperial city, then I'd mind if you join the General Star Hall. The General Star's Hall was built by the previous emperors of the Blazing Sun Empire. It has been used to this day. As long as you join the General Star's Hall, the Heavenly Suppression King and the other elders will have no reason to interfere. At most, only the younger generation will be able to interfere. Mingzhu introduced. Mingzhu then explained what was going on with the General Star's Hall. It was very simple. It was the place where the royal family gathered all the heroes of the world and trained generals, so it was called the General Star Hall. Many people who came out of the General Star Hall would become great generals. Lu Ming was tempted. Joining the General Star Hall might be a good choice. By joining the General Star Hall, he would at least have a temporary place to stay. Moreover, The General Star Hall was considered a very important place in the imperial capital, so he might be able to obtain some important information. I wonder what are the conditions to join the General Star Hall? Lu Ming asked. There's almost no requirement. There's only one condition, and that's talent. As long as you have talent, the General Star's Hall will take you in, no matter what your identity is, where you came from, what your cultivation is, whether you are the son of a king, a minister, or a commoner. Ming Zhu said. It's so loose. Lu Ming was shocked and in disbelief. Big brother Tianyun, let me tell you. There's a saying that the Burning Sun royal family is not willing to be controlled by the 10 Direction Sword School and wants to cultivate their own power. That's why they built the General Star's Hall, and the conditions are so low. Ming Feng whispered. Oh. Lu Ming was deep in thought. It seemed that the relationship between the 10 Direction Sword School and the royal family was quite delicate. Brother Tian, the General Star Hall will open its doors to recruit a batch of people every month. The day after tomorrow is the day of the monthly recruitment. Brother Tian, you can go and give it a try, Ming Zhu said. Big brother Tianyun, let me tell you something. My sister is also a member of the General Star Hall. As for me, I'm going to join the General Star Hall the day after tomorrow. We'll be there together then. Ming Feng shouted. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Then take care, brother Tian. We'll meet the day after tomorrow. Ming Zhu cupped her hands and left with Ming Feng. After that, Lu Ming continued to turn around. He turned a few streets before he found a restaurant and checked in. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. 2 days passed by peacefully, and nothing happened. 2 days later, Lu Ming walked out of the restaurant. The General Star Hall was extremely famous in the imperial capital. He only needed to ask around to find out its exact location. Lu Ming headed to the General Star's Hall. The General Star Hall was located in the northernmost part of the imperial capital. There were continuous mountains and numerous halls there, and one could not see the end of them with a glance. The gate of the General Star Hall was very majestic. There were 2 bronze Qilin statues standing on both sides of the gate. At the gate, there were more than a dozen burly men standing straight, exuding a strong and fierce aura. Obviously, they were all experts, and they were all great martial master experts. In front of the door, there was a table, and a white-haired old man was there to register. People came and went at the main entrance. Many of them were senior students of the General Star Hall. Those who joined the General Star Hall were all called students. There were also some who, like Lu Ming, were newcomers who intended to join the General Star's Hall. Big brother Tianyun. Lu Ming had just arrived when he heard a shout. Ming Feng and Ming Zhu walked over. Good morning. Lu Ming smiled and greeted him. It seems that not many people have come. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the room and smiled. The General Star's Hall recruits a batch of people every month, so there aren't many people. On average, there are about 100 people every month. Ming Zhu explained. Show me your bloodline. At this moment, a young man came to the front of the old man and the old man said indifferently. Swish. With a flash of bloody light, a tall brown bear appeared with 3 blood-red chakras. 3rd level blood meridian, sure. What's your name? The old man asked. Fang Wei, the young man said. Then, the old man took out a jade token and wrote a few inscriptions on it. He handed the token to the young man and said, All right, this is your identity jade card. You are now a student of the General Star Hall. The youth revealed a happy expression as he took the jade token and walked into the General Star Hall. Lu Ming was stunned. Isn't this procedure too simple? He asked. It's that simple, Ming Zhu said with a smile. Then wouldn't there be disciples from the 5 great sects in the General Star Hall? Lu Ming asked curiously. Yes, of course there are disciples from the 5 major sects. There are quite a few of them. Some of them have come here to join the General Star Hall, some for cultivation, some for experience. However, after joining the General Star Hall, the General Star Hall will still have certain measures. Ming Zhu explained. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. One by one, the young men went to register. Lu Ming realized that as long as one's blood meridian was above level 2, they could join the General Star's hall. "Kid, it's you." Suddenly, a voice filled with killing intent was heard. Lu Ming turned around. The corners of his mouth could not help but reveal a cold smile. It was Hua Jie. At this moment, Hua Jie had changed into a long Silivera robe with a jade belt around his waist. He was staring at Lu Ming coldly. Beside him, a few young men followed him and walked over. "Brat, you actually dare to stay in the imperial capital and even think of joining the General Star Hall? Just as well, don't leave today," Hua Jie said gloomily. "Haha, isn't this the young prince? What a coincidence, eh? You've changed your pants, why do you still smell?" Lu Ming's nose twitched and he said with a smile. You're looking for death." Hua Jie's face instantly turned red as he shouted with a ferocious look. This was the greatest hatred in his heart. Although he had warned others not to tell anyone about what had happened 2 days ago, there was no such thing as an impervious wall in the world. The news spread very quickly, and in 2 days, it had almost spread throughout the imperial city, becoming the laughingstock of others. Hua Jie hated Lu Ming to the core. Now, Lu Ming actually dared to mention this. Someone couldn't help but laugh. So here's the young man from 2 days ago. He actually dared to treat Hua Jie like that. I guess Hua Jie must hate him to the core. This is going to be interesting. Beside Hua Jie is Chen Xiong. That kid is finished. On the side, some of the senior students of the General Star Hall started to whisper. Chapter 201. Chapter 201, Provocation. 5496903339. Young Prince, is this the boy? Beside Hua Jie, a tall young man was glaring at Lu Ming. It's this kid. I can recognize him even if he's turned to dust. Hua Jie said through gritted teeth. Young Prince, how do you want me to teach him a lesson? Whatever you want him to become, I'll make him become. Chen Xiong took a few steps forward and looked at Lu Ming teasingly. Do as you see fit. First, break his arms and legs. As for the rest, do as you wish, Hua Jie said in a deep voice. All right, then I'll beat him up so badly that even his mother won't be able to recognize him. Chen Xiong sneered, and a powerful aura emanated from his body. Peak 4th grade Great Martial Master Realm. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He was only a peak 4th grade Great Martial Master and yet he dared to be so arrogant. Chen Xiong, this is the General Star Hall. Don't act rashly. Mingzhu's expression was grave as she took a step forward. Ayo, isn't this the Pearl Beauty? What, you want to help him? But do you think you can stop me? Get lost immediately and don't ask for trouble. Chen Xiong berated. Mingzhu's expression changed, becoming extremely unsightly. What are you so arrogant for? At worst, we'll just have a battle. Ming Feng saw that Mingzhu was being bullied and immediately shouted. You're just a kid whose hair hasn't even fully grown yet. You're like an ant, and you want to fight me? I'll cripple you right now. Chen Xiong laughed coldly and walked towards Ming Feng. Lu Ming smiled faintly and took a step forward. His eyes were calm and a powerful aura rose from his body. The aura of a 4th grade Great Martial Master. So you're a 4th grade Great Martial Master. No wonder you could defeat 6 of the young prince's top experts and be so arrogant. But do you think that you can fight me just because you're a 4th grade Great Martial Master? I'll let you understand how naive you are. Chen Xiong's eyes flickered as he spoke in a contemptuous manner. Then you can try, Lu Ming said indifferently. Boom. Their auras clashed, and a gust of wind swept up. What are you guys doing? You're not allowed to use force at the entrance of the General Star Hall, all of you, leave. Suddenly, at the entrance of the General Star Hall, the old man in charge of registration let out an angry roar. An extremely powerful aura burst out and enveloped the entire area. Lu Ming's gaze changed. This old man was definitely a martial arts grandmaster. Elder, this person has a grudge against me. I'll cripple him and leave immediately. Hua Jie cupped his fists at the old man. Young Prince, although you have a noble status, this is the General Star Hall, and the General Star Hall has its own rules. Other than His Majesty, No one can break the rules of the General Star Hall, and you are no exception. The old man cupped his fists slightly, but he had no intention of giving in. You win. Hua Jie's expression was ugly, but he was helpless. The General Stars Hall's elders were directly under the Emperor. Even if his father, the Heavenly Suppression King, were here, the General Stars Hall's elders might not give him any face. Mitch, kid, you're lucky, but your luck will last for 3 days at most. I'll see how you die in 3 days, Hua Jie said as he looked at Lu Ming coldly. Let's go. After that, Hua Jie waved his hand and strode into the General Star Hall. Chen Xiong cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. He sneered and followed Hua Jie. All right. Continue. The old man waved his hand and said. There were not many people in the first place. Very soon, it was Ming Feng's turn. After Ming Feng, it was Lu Ming's turn. Condense your bloodline and let me see. The old man cast a nonchalant glance at Lu Ming. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Then, a sanguine light flashed on his body and his spirit-devouring bloodline was condensed. At the same time, 6 blood-colored chakra shone. 6th level blood meridian. The old man's eyes suddenly burst with intense light, like 2 suns. At the side, Mingzhu, Ming Feng, and some other people also looked at Lu Ming in shock. A 6th level blood meridian, it was actually a 6th level blood meridian. One must know that in the 5 great sects, those with 6th level bloodlines were all considered top geniuses, and they were people at the level of the newcomer king. At most, there would be 1 or 2 in a year, or even none. The old man's eyes flickered and he suddenly asked, which of the 5 great sects are you a disciple of? Lu Ming was stunned. He smiled bitterly in his heart. It seemed that the level of the blood meridian was too high and it had aroused the suspicion of the elder. However, he could not control the appearance of the chakra of his bloodline. Otherwise, he could only display 3 chakras in a low-key way. Junior doesn't belong to any of the 5 great sects. I'm just a rogue cultivator. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. He wasn't lying. He was indeed a wandering cultivator now. Oh! The old man's eyes flickered, clearly not believing it. What's your name? The old man asked. Tianyun. Lu Ming answered. Then, the old man took out a jade token and carved a few inscriptions on it. There's a test at the martial arts field in 3 days. He passed the jade token to Lu Ming. All right. Lu Ming took the jade card and nodded. Big brother Tianyun, which room are you staying in? After Lu Ming had registered, Ming Feng came up to him and asked. Lu Ming picked up the jade card and channeled essential qi into it. Some information immediately appeared. Outer hall, number 11232. Lu Ming said. Haha, then let's be together. My outer palace number is 11,231, and my sister is not far from us. She's in number 11186. Ming Feng was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded, but his heart was moved. Every martial artist had their own room. There were more than 10,000 of them. It seemed like there were quite a number of people in the General Star Hall. There were at least 10,000 people. However, it was normal when he thought about it. The General Stars Hall recruited a batch of people every month. Even if there were not many each time, the number of people accumulated over the years was not small. Lu Ming, you have to be careful in 3 days. At this moment, Mingzhu warned with a grave expression. Lu Ming's expression changed. The old man told everyone who joined that there would be a test in the martial arts school field 3 days later. Moreover, Hua Jie had said that Lu Ming was lucky and only had 3 days. He would see how Lu Ming died 3 days later. He was very curious about this. What's going on with the test in 3 days? Lu Ming asked. Mingzhu pondered for a moment and said, Brother Tian, you should know that the General Stars Hall recruits people without asking about their background or origin. They take in anyone. There must be a mix of good and bad people here. Of course, the General Star Hall will take some measures. Therefore, the students who have just joined the General Star Hall will have a test in 3 days. The test is actually very simple. It'll be a sparring match between the senior students and the new students. On the surface, it's a sparring match, but in reality, it's to test the new students' abilities. If they're disciples of the 5 great sects, then they definitely won't receive any training in the future. Mingzhu explained in detail. So that was how it was. Lu Ming nodded. In that case, 3 days later, Hua Jie and the others were planning to tamper with the test. So, Brother Tian, you must be careful in 3 days. By right, the senior students who will participate in the test will be selected by the elders of the General Star Hall. However, with Hua Jie's abilities, it should not be difficult for him to do something. Mingzhu continued. If they want to come, then let them come. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not care. Brother Tian, don't be careless. Chen Xiong is a top genius. Although his cultivation is at the peak of the 4th grade Great Martial Master realm, he once had a record of killing a 5th grade Great Martial Master with a single strike. He's extremely powerful, and ordinary martial artists can't compare to him at all. Mingzhu continued. Genius. Wouldn't that be even more interesting? Lu Ming was still smiling faintly. Upon seeing this, Mingzhu did not say much. She led Lu Ming and Ming Feng to the dormitory. Chapter 202. Chapter 202. Chapter 2023 Palms. 54969039. The General Star Hall was really huge. It was like a small world inside. There were countless mountains, rivers, and historical sites. In particular, the palaces and pavilions were densely packed and overlapping. The dormitory of the General Star Hall was made up of many pavilions. They were all 7-story pavilions with rooms. Lu Ming's room was on the 3rd floor. There was a metal plate hanging at the door with the number 11232 written on it. Ming Feng's room was right next to his. After taking out his identity jade plate, Zhong Tai shone it on the iron plate. As the iron plate glowed, the door opened automatically. Lu Ming walked in. The room was very spacious and elegantly decorated. There was even a bookshelf on one side of the room, which was filled with brand new books. The treatment in the General Star's Hall is much better than in the mystical sword sect. Although the royal family has declined, they are still the orthodox lineage. Their heritage is still there. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. When he opened the door, he saw that it was Mingzhu and Mingfeng. Brother Tian, you've just joined the General Star Hall. I'll show you around. Mingzhu smiled sweetly. Lu Ming nodded. He wanted to familiarize himself with it. Lu Ming and the Pearl Mountain strolled around the General Star Hall. They chatted as they walked. During this period of time, Lu Ming found out that Mingzhu and Mingfeng were the children of a general in the Blazing Sun Empire. Their father guarded the border and fought wars all year round. As his children, they naturally joined the General Star's Hall and could become generals who guarded an area in the future. The 3 of them chatted as they walked, and their relationship slowly grew closer. After a few hours, Lu Ming returned to his room and entered the Supreme Shrine. He moved his hand and a secret manual appeared in his hand. The 3 palms was one of the 2 Earth-level martial arts techniques that Lu Ming had obtained from the Dongi tribe's ruins. Previously, he didn't have that much energy to cultivate, but now that he had already cultivated the soaring steps to the highest level, he could finally start cultivating the 3 palms. Lu Ming opened the secret manual of the 3 palms and read it in detail. After a long time, Lu Ming closed the secret manual, his face full of surprise. The 3 palm strikes were completely offensive martial arts techniques, and their power exceeded his imagination. 3 palms. In fact, there were only 3 palms in total. The first palm strike was the palm of humanity. The second palm was the beast Dao palm. The third palm strike was the heavenly path palm strike. According to the introduction, the power of the first palm, the human path palm, was already completely equivalent to the power of other earth-grade martial arts techniques. The power of the second palm had completely exceeded the power of a low earth-grade martial technique, and was infinitely close to a high earth-grade martial technique. As for the third palm, the heavenly path palm, it was said that when cultivated to the highest realm, its power was infinitely close to that of a heaven-rank martial skill. It was infinitely close to a heaven-level martial arts technique. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat when he saw this. Heaven-level martial skills, what kind of concept was that? It was much stronger than Earth-level martial skills, incomparably terrifying. That was a martial skill that only king-level warriors were qualified to cultivate. The reason why the three palms were classified as a low Earth-grade martial arts technique, according to the introduction, was because the third palm, in history, very few people were able to successfully cultivate it, the difficulty was too great. Having it was equivalent to not having it, so the three palm strikes were determined as Earth-grade lower-level martial arts techniques. Only when the first palm had been cultivated to the third level could the second palm be cultivated. However, if he wanted to cultivate the third palm, he didn't know what conditions he would need. It all depended on luck. Lu Ming carefully comprehended it. After reading it, he took out the three-palm secret manual and read it in detail. The difficulty of cultivating the three palms was even more difficult than the ancient shield technique. 3 days passed by in the blink of an eye. In 3 days, there was no progress in the three palm strikes. At this moment, it was time for the new students to take their test. Early in the morning, Mingzhu and Ming Feng found Lu Ming and walked to the martial arts school field with him. The martial arts field was extremely vast. It was said to be the place where the emperor reviewed his troops. One could not see the end of it. On one side of the field, there were more than a dozen fighting rings. At this moment, hundreds of people had already gathered around one of the fighting rings. More than 100 of them were the new students. As for the others, they were all senior students. Some of them were here to watch the show, while others were here to take part in the test. As soon as Lu Ming arrived, he saw a few cold eyes staring at him. They were Hua Jie, Chen Xiong, and the others. Beside Hua Jie, there were more than 10 young men. They had indeed come. Lu Ming smiled faintly and could not be bothered with them. This kid is so calm now. Wait a moment, let's see how he dies. That's right. He's lucky to be alive today for daring to offend the young prince, but that's it. The other young men beside Hua Jie sneered. Hua Jie's lips curled into a cold killing intent as he said, Chen Xiong, wait a moment. You just need to be ruthless and put the blame on the Star Hall. I'll take the responsibility. Young prince, don't worry. I know what to do, Chen Xiong sneered. After that, the number of people slowly increased, and in the end, there were about 500 people. At this moment, a middle-aged elder stepped onto the fighting ring. The test this time is very simple. I'll send out the senior students to fight with the new students. The new students don't have to be afraid and just use your strength to the fullest. If you can withstand 100 moves from the senior students, the General Star Hall will give you a generous reward. If you can defeat the senior students, you will be able to cultivate for 1 year free in the other 6 cultivation sanctuaries of the General Star Hall, except for the Earth Cave. The middle-aged elder announced. As soon as he said that, the eyes of many new students began to light up. 7 cultivation sanctuaries? Lu Ming had some doubts. Obviously, he had not heard of it. Brother Tian, the 7 cultivation sanctuaries are unique to the General Star Hall. It's very magical. I'll tell you in detail after the test. Mingzhu said in a low voice. All right, let's begin. The first to come up is Wu Yuan. The middle-aged elder announced. As soon as he finished speaking, a thin young man stepped onto the fighting ring. Du Can, you go up and test him. The middle-aged elder instructed an older student. Yes. A senior student in a red robe appeared. Without saying much, the battle began. The new student, Wu Yuan, launched a frenzied attack. The battle saber in his hand turned into a rolling saber light, attacking towards Du Can. As for Du Can, he had a smile on his face the entire time. He was unruffled and did not fight back. Instead, he dodged blindly. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He could tell that Du Can's cultivation was definitely above that of a martial grandmaster while Wu Yuan was only a 6th grade master. The difference was too great. If Du Can really made a move, he would be able to take Wu Yuan's life in half a move. However, Du Can did not make a move. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He raised his head and looked at the sky to his right. In the sky, above a cloud, a few elders were watching the fighting ring with bright eyes as expected, There are experts observing in the dark. It seems that this General Star's hall is not simple. It can't be like the rumors outside that the General Star's hall is used by the royal family to cultivate their own strength in an attempt to fight against the 10-direction sword school, right? But it's so obvious. It's impossible that the 10-direction sword school doesn't know about it, right? Lu Ming pondered, full of doubts. At this moment, a few old men were carefully observing the competition on the fighting ring. The blade light is rolling. This is the Lone Peak 30 strikes. This Wu Yuan should be from the Lone Peak city. There's no problem. An old man said. It's a pity that his cultivation is too weak and his talent is average. Another old man sighed. There's no other way. Most of the talented ones have been recruited by the 5 great sects. Let's wait and see. Another sigh was heard. Chapter 203. Chapter 203. You have the nerve to show off. 54969039. Soon, 50 to 60 moves had passed on the fighting ring. Let's end this. Dukan lightly shouted. He shot out a punch, and Wu Yuan was directly blasted off the fighting stage. Let's continue. The second round, go away. The middle-aged elder began to announce. One test after another continued. However, the strength of the new students varied. Some of them were only at the warrior realm, and it was impossible for them to last more than 100 moves against the older students. Of course, there were also exceptions. One of them had reached the 3rd grade Great Martial Master realm and defeated an older student, attracting a lot of attention. Soon, it was Ming Feng's turn. However, Ming Feng's cultivation was only at the 6th grade Master realm. For his age, it was already very good, but he was no match for the senior student. The other party had deliberately held back for more than 50 moves and then defeated Ming Feng easily. Next, Tianyun. The middle-aged elder announced. Lu Ming's expression changed and he stepped onto the fighting ring. Chen Xiong, come up and take the test. The middle-aged elder shouted. Chen Xiong, as expected. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he revealed a cold smile. It's really Chen Xiong. It can't be such a coincidence. He must have done something. Or, he must have been bribed. Mingzhu said in a low voice. Isn't this too despicable? Why don't we just ask Big Brother Tianyun to give up on the test? Ming Feng said. No, if you give up the test, you can't stay in the General Star Hall. Mingzhu said. Then what should we do? Sister, is that Chen Xiong really that powerful? No matter what, Big Brother Tianyun is still a 4th grade Great Master. Ming Feng said anxiously. Mingzhu sighed. Of course Chen Xiong is strong. He can kill an ordinary 5th grade Great Martial Master with a single sword strike. I heard that no less than 3 5th grade Great Martial Masters have died at his hands. That's so powerful, what should we do? Ming Feng was even more anxious. There's nothing we can do about it. We'll just have to see how Tianyun's good fortune will turn out. Mingzhu sighed. Ha ha ha. On the other side, Chen Xiong laughed heartily. He stepped onto the fighting ring and stood in front of Lu Ming. Below the fighting stage, Hua Jie sneered. Kid, you're Tianyun, right? You've managed to live for 3 more days. Now, accept your fate. Hua Jie, you haven't fought for a few days. Are your bones itching again? Or, do you want to pee your pants again? Lu Ming glanced at Hua Jie and said loudly. His voice spread far and wide. Hua Jie almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Ming was too detestable. He had touched on Hua Jie's sore spot. Hua Jie's face was flushed red. He stared at Lu Ming with a sense of duty and roared, "Little bastard, scream all you want. This is your last chance. I'll let you have a taste of your mouth. After all, you're going to die soon." Hee hee. Lu Ming sneered in response. He could not be bothered to deal with Hua Jie, this mad dog. Swish. At this moment, Chen Xiong unsheathed his long sword. A brilliant, blood-red sword chi shot up into the sky. Tianyun, I once used this sword to kill a 5th grade Great Martial Master with a single strike. It's your honor to die under my sword. Chen Xiong shouted loudly. His face was filled with pride. You killed a 5th-grade Great Master Realm martial artist with a single sword strike, and you still have the cheek to brag about it. Don't you find it embarrassing? Lu Ming pursed his lips and said indifferently. As soon as he said that, the people around him staggered and almost fell. All of them looked at Lu Ming speechlessly. Breaking the record? In Lu Ming's eyes, a 4th-grade Great Martial Master killing a 5th-grade Great Martial Master with a single slash was actually a broken record and embarrassing. This was a battle of a higher realm, and it was in the Great Martial Master realm. A Great Martial Master who could cross realms and kill an opponent was definitely a top genius. Bragging, he was definitely bragging. Almost everyone thought that Lu Ming was bragging. Even Ming Zhu and Ming Feng looked at each other in dismay. Go on, I'll let you brag as much as you want as a dying man. Hua Jie burst out laughing. However, Chen Xiong's expression was extremely ugly. The battle results that he had been so proud of were actually so pathetic in Lu Ming's eyes. Whether he was bragging or not, in his opinion, this was an insult to him. Tianyun, wait a moment. I hope you can still say it. Chen Xiong's voice was incomparably cold. He pointed his long sword and a surge of sword chi gushed towards Lu Ming. Kill! Chen Xiong shouted, his killing intent soaring into the sky. He became one with the sword and turned into a blood-red sword light, slashing toward Lu Ming. The sword chi whistled as if it could cut the space in half. It was extremely powerful. This was not a test or a spar. He was clearly trying to kill Lu Ming. Not good. The faces of the Pearl Mountain siblings changed drastically. As for Hua Jie, he laughed coldly and thought, Brat, it's really a good thing for you to die like this. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming's expression was calm. As he looked at the incoming sword light, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He didn't take out a weapon. Instead, he waved his hand. A red light flashed in his hand, and a red spear formed. Lightning. Whoosh. The red spear's radiance flashed. Fast, too fast, so fast that most people didn't even see it clearly. Only the few elders on the clouds had a change in expression. Bang! In the fighting ring, two beams of light collided. However, Chen Xiong's sword radiance was like a layer of bubbles, shattering upon contact. Then, the spear radiance continued and disappeared in a flash. The spear quickly disappeared, and two figures stood opposite each other on the fighting ring. Who won? Everyone watched with wide eyes. Suddenly, a stream of blood spurted out of Chen Xiong's throat. Chen Xiong let out a blood-curdling screech. He clutched his throat tightly with both hands. His eyes were wide open like a dead fish as he stared at Lu Ming in disbelief. I've said it before, your lousy battle record is really embarrassing. Lu Ming said indifferently. You. Chen Xiong's eyes revealed a look of fear and unwillingness. Then, he fell down and stopped breathing. The surrounding students of the General Star Hall were all dumbfounded. One move. He had actually killed a top-tier genius, Chen Xiong, in one move. Moreover, Lu Ming did not even use a weapon. He had only condensed a long spear with essential qi, and with a casual attack, he had killed Chen Xiong. What kind of strength was this? Wasn't he too strong? In front of him, Chen Xiong simply did not have the slightest strength to fight back. Genius. Peerless genius. Many people were roaring in their hearts. He's so strong. This young man isn't simple. An old man in the clouds said. Could it be a genius from the 5 great sects? It's hard to say. I really hope he's not a disciple of the 5 great sects. Investigate thoroughly. If he's not from the 5 great sects, we must do our best to rope him in. The few elders looked at Lu Ming with bright eyes. Below the fighting ring, Hua Jie was dumbfounded by the scene. After a long while, he finally reacted and roared angrily, Tianyun, you actually killed Chen Xiong. You actually killed him. You're going to pay with your life. Pay with my life. It's ridiculous. Just now it was Chen Xiong himself who shouted that he wanted to kill me. Now that I've killed him, it's completely his own fault. Moreover, Elder didn't say that I can't kill anyone. Lu Ming cast a glance at Hua Jie and said disdainfully, Chapter 204. Chapter 204, The 7 Cultivation Sanctuaries. 5496903339. On the fighting ring, the middle-aged elder's face darkened, but he did not say anything. He had indeed been bribed by Hua Jie. However, he knew that there were a few powerful figures watching him from the clouds. Hence, he did not dare to go overboard. Hua Jie was stunned. He could not refute Lu Ming's words. How about this, Hua Jie, I'll give you a chance. All of you, come at me together, Lu Ming said indifferently. What? There was an uproar at the scene. Lu Ming actually wanted the people brought by Hua Jie to attack together. This was too arrogant. One should know that the people beside Hua Jie were all geniuses. They were the children of many influential figures in the imperial city and were very powerful. Some of them were even stronger than Chen Xiong. No matter how strong Lu Ming was, how could he be a match for so many experts? This was crazy. This was crazy. What? You want to challenge so many of us? Even Hua Jie himself was stunned for a moment. Then, he reacted and revealed a look of ecstasy on his face. He hurriedly shouted, "All right, you said it, don't go back on your word." At the same time, he laughed in his heart. He was laughing at Lu Ming for courting death. On the fighting ring, the middle-aged elder was a little stunned. This was the first time he had seen such a scene during a test. For a moment, he did not know whether to agree or not. At this moment, a voice transmission entered his ears, asking him to agree. It was a voice transmission from an elder above the clouds. They wanted to take the opportunity to observe Lu Ming. "All right, this battle can proceed," the middle-aged elder announced. "Go." Hua Jie hurriedly waved his hand, and more than a dozen young men beside him rushed up to the fighting ring. "Brat, do you think you can be so arrogant just because you defeated Chen Xiong? You're really naive. He's actually challenging so many of us at once. He's simply courting death. If I don't beat him up, I'm not a Wang." These young men glared at Lu Ming with hostility and sneered. Lu Ming had challenged so many of them at once. It was obvious that he was looking down on them. It was an insult. They wanted to make Lu Ming regret it. Cut the crap. If you want to make a move, do it now. If you don't, get lost. Lu Ming berated. Damn it, you're looking for death. Kill him. The dozen or so young men let out angry roars, and their bodies emitted a powerful aura. Boom, boom, boom. A blood-red light flashed and the blood of the dozen youths burst out at the same time. A terrifying attack surged toward Lu Ming like a never-ending tide. Lu Ming was instantly drowned by the colorful brilliance. Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. Lu Ming was so arrogant. They wanted to see how Lu Ming would fight against more than 10 young geniuses. At this moment, Lu Ming made his move. Just like before, he didn't even draw his weapon. With a brilliant glow, a spear materialized in his hand. Buzz! The long spear swept out in a very direct and violent way. A full moon appeared on the fighting ring. Bang! Bang! With a loud boom, the attacks of the dozen or so young men were instantly dispersed. The terrifying spear light whizzed out and swept in all directions. Ah! Achoo! Ah! More than a dozen screams sounded out as more than a dozen figures were thrown out of the fighting ring and coughed up blood. It was frozen. The air seemed to have frozen at this moment. Everyone looked at this scene in a daze. One move, it was still just one move, and the dozen or so young geniuses that Hua Jie had brought with him were all defeated. He loosened his grip gently, as if he was chasing away a dozen flies. What a waste of time. At this moment, Lu Ming pursed his lips and said. Everyone was speechless. They were roaring in their hearts. What do you mean by wasting time? You're the one who's too abnormal, okay? You can't attack people like this. Hua Jie's body trembled. His face was pale and his lips were trembling. He pointed at Lu Ming and said, You coward. He couldn't say a word. Strong, he's too strong. Big brother Tianyun is too strong, Ming Feng muttered to himself, his face filled with excitement. At the side, Mingzhu's beautiful eyes also flickered with extraordinary splendor. Lu Ming's strength had completely exceeded her expectations. Who? Above the clouds, a few old men let out a long breath, their eyes flickering. How is it? Can you tell what their origins are? One of the old men asked. I can't tell. It was just one move, and most of them were swept by absolute power. Very little information was exposed. Furthermore, what he used was most likely a personal martial technique that he had obtained himself. There are no traces of the 5 great sects. Another old man said. This is difficult. Is such a peerless genius really from the 5 great sects? Pay attention, we must pay close attention. If it's someone from the 5 great sects, they're just here to use the sacred land to cultivate. They won't be able to stay for long. If he isn't, I must rope him in. The few elders quickly discussed. Elder, is my test over? Lu Ming asked the middle-aged elder. The knot has ended. The middle-aged elder stuttered. Lu Ming nodded and jumped off the fighting ring. Hua Jie glared at Lu Ming resentfully and left with more than 10 young men who were staggering. They were in a sorry state. Hua Jie would become a laughingstock once again if he came in a high-profile manner and left with a dejected face. Lu Ming smiled faintly. As long as there were no elders, he did not care about a dandy like Hua Jie. Then, the test continued, but there were no outstanding people. Soon, all the tests were over. The middle-aged elder marked the identity jade card of each new student. Haha, I can finally go to the 7 cultivation sanctuaries to cultivate. Ming Feng laughed. Ming Feng, are the 7 cultivation sanctuaries really that good? Lu Ming asked curiously. Good, of course it's good. Big brother Tianyun, do you know why there are disciples from the 5 great sects who managed to sneak in? He wants to enter the 7 sacred lands of the General Star Hall to cultivate. Ming Feng's eyes lit up. Brother Tian, the 7 cultivation sanctuaries of the General Star's Hall are the most important treasure lands of the royal family. It is said that the 10 Direction Sword School is very coveting them, but the royal family has them in their hands. It can be said that the 7 cultivation sanctuaries are the foundation of the royal family. They can't give them to anyone else. Mingzhu also explained. That's right, big brother Tianyun. You've defeated the senior students this time. Other than the Earth Yuan Cave, you can choose any of the other 6 places and train for free for a year. I'm so envious. Ming Feng shouted. I wonder what are the 7 cultivation sanctuaries? Lu Ming asked. I'll say it. The 7 cultivation sanctuaries are Earth Essence Cave, Gungjin Valley, Godwind Valley, No Rest Tower, 10,000 Killing Secret Realm, Foggy Marsh, and Lightning Palace, Ming Feng immediately said. Among them, the most mysterious one is the Earth Yuan Cave. Under the Earth Yuan Cave, there is a rich fire spiritual qi that can be condensed into true qi. In the Earth Yuan Cave, whether it is to improve cultivation or to practice fire attribute martial skills, it will be twice the result with half the effort. The Gungjin Valley is filled with rich golden qi, and is the best place to cultivate metal attribute cultivation techniques and martial arts techniques. Godwind Valley is filled with strong winds and hurricanes, it is the best GU for the wind attribute. Ming Feng explained the characteristics of the 7 cultivation holy lands one by one. Chapter 205. Chapter 205, Earth Cave. 5496903339. It's so magical. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a strong interest. There were not many places like this in the mystical sword sect. Lu Ming only knew of a clam cave in the Vermilion Bird Hall. The royal family that had once ruled the Burning Sun Empire was indeed powerful. Big brother Tianyun, which one do you plan on going to first? Ming Feng asked. Earth Yuan Cave. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said. Okay, I want to go too. Let's go together. Ming Feng was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded. Then you two go to the Earth Cave. I'm going to the Foggy Marsh to practice a martial skill, so I won't be going with you. Ming Zhu said with a smile. Sister, you should hurry up and go. Ming Feng urged. You brat, you've just arrived at the General Star's Hall, so don't cause any trouble. Ming Zhu glared at Ming Feng, then left. Big brother Tianyun, let's go to the Earth Cave together. Ming Feng shouted, looking extremely excited. Earth Cave, just ask a senior student and he would know the way. The two of them passed through many palaces and came to a mountain peak. At the foot of the mountain, there was a huge stone wall with a stone door on it. Two middle-aged men were guarding the door. The two middle-aged men were just casually standing there, but they exuded an aura that was as deep as the ocean. What a strong cultivation. He is definitely a martial arts grandmaster. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Everyone said that the imperial family had declined, but it seemed that their strength was still not to be underestimated. In the mystical sword sect, a martial arts grandmaster was an expert at the level of a Silivera-robed elder. Senior, we're here to cultivate in the Earth Cave. Ming Feng walked in front of a burly man and bowed respectfully. Let me take a look at your identity jade token, the large man said expressionlessly. Lu Ming and Ming Feng took out their identity jade cards and handed them to the burly man. The burly man took it and looked at it before nodding. You can go in and exchange for the inscription stones first. Only with the inscription stones can you open the secret training room in the Earth Cave. All right, thank you, senior. Ming Feng nodded and took out the spiritual crystals. Lu Ming also took out his spirit crystals. On the way here, Ming Feng had already explained the situation in the Earth Cave to Lu Ming in detail. The imperial family had carved out 13 levels of the Earth Cave. There were some secret training rooms on each floor, which were filled with rich fire property spiritual qi. It was very useful for improving cultivation, refining genuine qi, and practicing fire property martial skills. The lower he went, the denser the spiritual qi was, and the better the effect. However, they couldn't let people cultivate for free. Each secret room was engraved with an inscription stone. Only the imperial family's inscription stone could open the secret room and enter it to cultivate. Inscription stones, 30 spiritual crystals for one. Of course, the further down he went, the more rune stones he needed. How many inscription stones do you want to exchange? The middle-aged man asked Ming Feng. One piece is enough. Ming Feng said. On the first level of the Earth Cave, one only needed an inscription stone to open a secret cultivation room and cultivate for a month. Ming Feng took out 30 spiritual crystals and handed them to the middle-aged man. Then, the middle-aged man handed Ming Feng a fiery red stone that was engraved with inscriptions. How about you? How many runestones do you need? The middle-aged man asked. I'll exchange for 100 yuan first. Lu Ming said casually. Ah, what? 100 yuan? The two middle-aged men were shocked. Ming Feng also widened his eyes. 100 runestones would cost 3,000 spiritual crystals, which was equivalent to 30 million taels of Silivera. How could Lu Ming have so many spiritual crystals at such a young age? Lu Ming smiled. His fingers glowed and a jade box appeared. There were rows of spiritual crystals neatly stacked inside. Lu Ming took out 3,000 spiritual crystals and handed them to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged burly man took it and took out 100 inscription stones, handing them to Lu Ming. Go in and cultivate. The two middle-aged men finally smiled. The stone door opened and Lu Ming and Ming Feng walked in. As soon as he entered, he felt a strong fire attribute spiritual qi blowing in his face. After walking forward for about 100 meters, a huge underground cave appeared. The surroundings were well maintained, and it was obvious that it was man-made. Around the cave, there were many secret training rooms. The doors of the secret rooms were all closed, but some of them were shimmering with a faint light, indicating that someone was cultivating inside. If there was no light on the door, it meant that no one was cultivating inside. In the middle was a hole. As he walked in, he saw that there was a spiral stone staircase leading down the cave. This was the first floor, and the second floor was just below. Big brother Tianyun, which level do you plan on going to cultivate? I'll be cultivating here. Ming Feng said with a hint of envy. The world energy here isn't very dense, let's go down. Lu Ming said. Go down? But my inscription stone. Don't I have it here? I haven't even thanked you for talking so much with me. Let's go down together, my treat. Lu Ming smiled. You're really inviting me? Then I won't be polite. Ming Feng was overjoyed and did not hold back at all. Ming Feng's young heart was true to his nature and he was not so indirect. He took the lead and headed to the second level. The space on the second floor was no smaller than the first floor. The layout was almost the same as the first level, except that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was richer. Lu Ming could almost feel the scorching spiritual energy of heaven and earth wrapping around his body continuously as if it was going to drill into his body. The Earth Yuan cave is indeed worthy of its reputation. And this is the outside of the secret room. If I cultivate in the secret room, my cultivation will probably increase 10 times faster than outside. Besides, it's definitely very useful to cultivate fire attribute martial skills. It's also very useful to comprehend the fire force. I've made the right decision to come here today. This is only the second level, but the fire spiritual chi is already so dense. It is said that there are 13 levels in the earth cave. I wonder what it will be like if I go further down. Lu Ming pondered secretly. Big brother Tianyun, to open a secret room for cultivation for a month on this floor, you need 3 inscription stones. Ming Feng said. Continue down. Lu Ming smiled and headed to the third level. Ming Feng hurriedly followed. On the third floor, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was even denser. On this floor, Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he saw 5 to 6 young men sitting cross-legged in the middle of the open space. Although the world energy chi in the open space outside was still quite rich, it couldn't be compared to the one inside the secret room. What were these people doing outside? Ming Feng seemed to have thought of something. His expression changed and he whispered to Lu Ming, I've heard from my sister that some people don't have spiritual crystals to exchange for inscription stones in the Earth Yuan cave, so they rob other people's secret practicing rooms here. When someone opens a secret room, they'll seize it. Oh. Lu Ming nodded. It seemed that no matter where it was, disputes of interest were inevitable. Chapter 206. Chapter 206, Seizing the Secret Room. 5496903339. Then, he started to look around. There were more than 20 secret rooms in the surroundings. More than a dozen of them were lit up, and it was obvious that someone was cultivating there. There were 6 rooms that were dim. Lu Ming took a look and walked towards a secret room. The eyes of the 6 young men who were sitting cross-legged in the middle lit up when they saw Lu Ming walking toward a secret chamber. I've never seen this kid before. He's probably a hothead. Could it be that they just arrived? Haha, after waiting for several days, someone finally came to open the secret cultivation room. I'm going to seize it. The 6 young men thought to themselves. Big brother Tianyun. Ming Feng was a little nervous as he followed behind Lu Ming. After all, anyone who dared to occupy someone else's secret cultivation room here was definitely a ruthless person. Lu Ming did not care and took out 9 inscription stones. The secret room on the 3rd floor required 9 inscription stones to open. There were a few pits on the stone door. Lu Ming placed the 9 rune stones into the pit. The stone door immediately flashed with light. Then, there was a clicking sound and the stone door opened. Haha, this secret training room is mine. You're dreaming. I was the first to arrive here. I arrived 7 days ago. This secret chamber is mine. The one that came earlier was already yours. In your dreams. The secret cultivation room is the home of the strong. Get out of here immediately. When the door of the secret room opened, the 6 young men stood up and shouted one after another. They all wanted to take this secret room for themselves. As for the thoughts of Lu Ming, the party involved, they directly ignored them. One of them looked like he had just arrived. Who would care about his thoughts? Buzz. Buzz. The sound of weapons being unsheathed could be heard. The 6 of them actually pulled out their weapons and started to face each other. If you want to fight with me, you're really looking for death. Boom. At this moment, one of the pockmarked young men's aura suddenly burst out. Judging from his aura, he had actually reached the 4th grade Great Martial Master realm. The other 5 young men's faces changed instantly. Liu Mazi, you've actually broken through to the 4th grade Great Martial Master realm? When did that happen? A young man shouted in shock. Ha ha ha, unexpected, right? I've already made a breakthrough, so let's see how you can compete with me. Get lost now, I need this secret chamber to consolidate my cultivation. Liu Mazi shouted coldly, and his powerful aura began to wreak havoc in the cave. The other 5 people's expressions were very unsightly, but they didn't dare to refute. Most of them were at the 2nd or 3rd grade Great Martial Master realm, and they were no match for a 4th grade Great Martial Master. Damn it, I've waited for 7 days and finally found a hothead. It seems like I've waited for nothing. A tall young man growled unhappily. He stepped back helplessly and stood to the side. The others were silent for a moment and then retreated. Ha ha ha. Liu Mazi laughed arrogantly and proudly. He then turned to look at Lu Ming and said, "Brat, I want this secret room of yours. Also, hand over all the inscription stones you have and get lost. I'm in a good mood today, so I won't make things difficult for you." 4th grade Great Martial Master? When Liu Mazi revealed his cultivation, Ming Feng was no longer nervous. He mumbled to himself and looked at Liu Mazi with a strange expression. Lu Ming could easily take care of a group of 3rd and 4th grade Grandmaster geniuses with one move. What was Liu Pozi to him? Ming Feng had already started to mourn for Liu Mazi. So pitiful. Ming Feng muttered in his heart as he looked at Liu Mazi's arrogant expression. Are you sure you want to do this? Don't you want to think about it? Lu Ming looked at Liu Mazi and said with a faint smile. Nonsense, what's there to consider? Stop wasting my time. Liu Mazi shouted. If that's the case, then fine. Hand over your storage ring and get lost. Lu Ming said indifferently. Ah, what? What did you just say? Liu Mazi was stunned and thought he had heard wrong. Hurry up, I don't want to repeat myself. Lu Ming said. Ha ha ha, brat, you still want my storage ring? I think you're crazy. Let me cure you. Liu Mazi laughed out loud. He took a step forward and sent a palm strike at Lu Ming. Bang! Immediately after, the others heard a loud boom and saw a figure flying backward. He fell heavily on the ground and screamed repeatedly. It was Liu Mazi. The other 5 young men were stunned. Liu Mazi was defeated, and the key was that he was defeated too quickly. They did not even see how Liu Mazi was defeated. Buzz! Lu Ming moved like a ghost and appeared in front of Liu Mazi. He stepped on Liu Mazi's face, causing his face to fall heavily to the ground. Liu Mazi screamed. The other 5 young men felt a chill run down their spines and their teeth hurt. Expert, so he's a top expert. Thank God I didn't make a move just now. It's all Liu Mazi's fault. If it wasn't for him, I would be the one in trouble. I have to thank Liu Mazi. The other 5 young men secretly rejoiced, their palms sweating. Now, hand over your storage ring. Lu Ming looked down at Liu Mazi and said indifferently. I'll pay, I'll pay. Liu Mazi shrieked in pain and handed the storage ring to Lu Ming while trembling. He simply wanted to die. He originally thought that he had picked up a bargain, but in the end, he suffered a double loss. What a terrible loss. I won't come and occupy the secret room anymore. It's too much. Liu Mazi screamed in his heart. Lu Ming took the storage ring and moved his feet away. Get lost. Yes, yes. Liu Mazi rolled and crawled, struggling to get up, and was about to go up. Catcher. At this moment, the door of a secret room opened. Buzz. With a flash, a figure came out of it. It was a man in his 20s. He was wearing a black robe and had a cold expression. The moment he came out, he scanned the surroundings. Bai Long, it's Bai Long. The other young men's expressions changed drastically when they saw the black-robed young man. Who has the inscription stone? Hand it over now. My time in the secret room is up. I need to continue cultivating and break through a martial technique. Bai Long shouted, his eyes like lightning, and he didn't hide his powerful aura at all. A 5th grade Great Martial Master. This young man was actually a 5th grade Great Martial Master. Suddenly, Bai Long's gaze landed on the secret room behind Lu Ming. Haha, the secret room that just opened is perfect for me to use. Then, he strode towards the secret room. Lu Ming moved his feet slightly and stood in front of Bai Long. This secret chamber is mine. Bai Long was stunned. He sized Lu Ming up and a cold smile appeared on his face. Yours. Then let me have it now. Although he said let, his tone was strong and domineering. It was a direct command. I'm sorry, I won't let you win. Lu Ming said indifferently. Not allowed. Kid, it seems like you don't know who I am. I'll say it again, I'm going to cultivate my martial skill in the secret room now. If I'm delayed by you and my martial skill can't break through, can you bear the responsibility? Bai Long said coldly. If you need a secret chamber, open it yourself. Don't grumble here. What does it have to do with me if you need to practice martial arts? Get out of here, I still need to practice. Lu Ming waved his hands as if he was chasing away flies. Chapter 207. Chapter 207, Chapter 207 Crippled with one move. 54969039. Bai Long's face instantly darkened. Haha, this kid, although he has some strength, is really a hothead. He actually dares to speak to Bai Long like that. He's finished. Liu Mazi was about to leave but he stopped at that moment. He laughed in his heart when he saw Lu Ming talking to Bai Long in such a manner, gloating over his misfortune. He would be lying if he said that he did not resent Lu Ming for what he did to him just now. It was just that he was not as powerful as Lu Ming and could only swallow his anger. Now that he saw that Lu Ming had actually offended Bai Long, he was naturally overjoyed. He hoped that Bai Long would teach Lu Ming a harsh lesson. The others were the same, gloating at his misfortune. Kid, what did you say? Bai Long's face was cold as he asked in a deep voice. Are you deaf? I told you to get lost. Lu Ming repeated. Ha ha ha. Bai Long laughed out of extreme anger, and a cold killing intent exploded from his body. He glared at Lu Ming and said, Brat, it has been a long time since anyone has dared to talk to me like this in the outer palace. You are the first one. It seems like some ants are going to turn the sky upside down after I haven't fought for a long time. Today, I will give you an unforgettable lesson. With that, he took a few steps forward and appeared in front of Lu Ming in an instant. Boom! Bai Long's fist rumbled out, and a terrifying whistling sound instantly rang out. This punch was extremely shocking. The fist force was so powerful that it could even shatter a mountain. Bai Long's lips curled into a sinister smile. He wanted to break all the bones in Lu Ming's body with one punch. In the world of martial artists, no matter where one was, strength spoke the loudest. It was extremely normal for one to draw a sword and kill someone if they did not agree with one another. I originally didn't want to make a move today, but there's a group of people who are looking for death. Lu Ming muttered and waved his palm at Bai Long. The moment he waved his hand, a long spear was formed. Buzz! The tip of the spear pierced through everything, and Bai Long's terrifying fist energy was pierced through like tofu. Ah! Bai Long screamed and quickly retreated. Liu Mazi and the others were shocked. They quickly looked at Bai Long and gasped. A hole appeared on Bai Long's fist, from which white bones could be seen and blood was flowing out. The hole went straight through his arm, as if it had been blasted open. It was extremely terrifying. Bai Long's body trembled non-stop. His face was pale and cold sweat was flowing down his face. He let out a low roar. With that little ability of yours, you still have that expression of blowing the sky up. I'm really speechless. Now, you better get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Brat, you're ruthless, but today's matter isn't over yet. Just you wait. Bai Long roared and fled the place in a sorry state. You're still here? Do you want to be like Bai Long? Lu Ming looked at Liu Mazi and the rest with a faint smile. The expressions of Liu Mazi and the others changed drastically, and they were almost scared out of their wits. Lu Ming was too powerful. He had crippled Bai Long's hand with one move. How could they afford to offend such a ruthless person? Go. I'll leave immediately. Liu Mazi shouted and quickly walked towards the stone stairs. The others followed closely behind. When they reached the second floor, Liu Mazi stopped. Liu Posey, what's wrong? Haven't you been taught a lesson enough? You still want to stay and get abused? One of the young men sneered and gloated. "Shut up!" Liu Mazi shouted coldly. His face was extremely gloomy as he said, "That kid is strong, but he's brainless. He even dared to hurt Bai Long. Now that Bai Long is injured, he'll definitely go back and ask his big brother Bai Kai. Once Bai Kai comes, this kid is dead for sure. Of course I'll stay and watch the show." As soon as he said that, the other young men's expressions changed. That's right. Bai Kai is one of the top 10 warriors of the Outer Palace. With him here, that kid is finished. I also want to stay and watch the show. The young men spoke one after another. They then sat down cross-legged on the second floor, waiting for Bai Kai to arrive. The third floor. Big brother Tianyun, you're really too amazing. When will I be as amazing as you? No, it'll be good if I'm only half as amazing as you. Ming Feng looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Now, Lu Ming was already his idol. As long as you work hard in your cultivation, you'll be able to catch up to me very soon. Lu Ming smiled and walked into the secret room. He sensed it carefully and shook his head. Although the fire-type spiritual energy in the secret room was rich, it did not meet Lu Ming's requirements. He needed to continue down. Ming Feng, you can use this secret room for your cultivation, Lu Ming said. For me. Big brother Tianyun, what about you? Ming Feng asked. I want to continue going down. This place isn't very effective for me, Lu Ming said. Alright then, I won't stand on ceremony. Ming Feng's eyes lit up with excitement as he walked into the secret room. Big brother Tianyun, I'll be closing my door to cultivate then, Ming Feng shouted. Seeing Lu Ming nod, he pressed a button and the stone door of the secret room closed. As for Lu Ming, he continued to go down. Soon, they arrived at the fourth floor. The fourth floor required 27 inscription stones to open a secret room. In the middle of the fourth floor, there were two people sitting cross-legged. The moment Lu Ming came down, the two of them looked at him with ill intentions. It was obvious that they were also people who wanted to occupy the secret cultivation room. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not take it to heart. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and shook his head. Then, he continued down and walked to the fifth level. The two young men's expressions changed. They watched as Lu Ming walked down to the fifth level. Their eyes flickered, but they did not follow him in the end. There were no weaklings who could cultivate on the fifth floor. In fact, many of them were students from the General Star Hall Inner Hall and were experts at the 7th grade Great Martial Master Realm or above. Lu Ming walked down the stairs. When he was close to the fifth level, the power of an inscription acted on him, preventing him from going any further. Lu Ming's body trembled and this force was destroyed. It seems like without a certain cultivation, I can't even cultivate here. Lu Ming smiled faintly. When he set foot on the fifth level, Lu Ming felt waves of scorching, violent fire-type spiritual energy surging in his surroundings, making his skin feel numb and itchy. No wonder there are inscriptions here. The fire spiritual chi here is too hot and violent. Ordinary people would die if they were to be hit by this spiritual chi. Weaker martial artists who cultivate here for a long time would even have their meridians burned. However, this spiritual chi is just right for me. Lu Ming pondered secretly. There were more than a dozen secret chambers around the fifth floor, and about half of them were occupied with people cultivating. There was no one in the open space. No one had occupied the secret cultivation room. Lu Ming walked to the front of a secret room and took out 81 inscription stones. That's right, the fifth floor required 81 inscription stones to open a secret room and cultivate for a month. Embed the rune stone on the stone door, and the stone door will release. Lu Ming opened the door and walked in. After he entered, he closed the stone door. When the stone door was closed, the walls of the secret room glowed with inscriptions, and the fire-attributed spiritual chi in the secret room became more and more intense. The inscription formation in the secret room helped to absorb and gather the spiritual chi between heaven and earth. The fire-attributed spiritual chi here seems to be surging up from deep underground. Lu Ming sensed it carefully. Chapter 208. Chapter 208, The top 10 experts of the Outer Palace. 5496903339. There were 13 levels in the Earth Cave. The lower the level, the denser the fire element spiritual chi. It was said that the further down one went, the more spiritual chi there was, the deeper it would be. These 13 floors were not natural. The Burning Sun royal family had spent a lot of manpower to excavate them. However, even after exhausting all his efforts, he could only dig out the 13th layer. It was impossible to continue down. It was because no one could go down. It was said that the last 2 levels were opened up by a peerless martial king of the ancient Burning Sun Empire's royal family. No one else could even go down. Lu Ming had heard this from Ming Feng. What was below the 13th floor? Countless people in the Burning Sun Empire were wondering, but no one knew the answer. Lu Ming shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He sat cross-legged, activated the True War Dragon technique, and began cultivating. The surrounding fire-type spiritual energy was absorbed into Lu Ming's body. The hot fire property spiritual chi was constantly being transformed into genuine chi. The hot aura could also refine the genuine chi, making it more condensed. Lu Ming realized that the cultivation speed here was more than 20 times faster than the outside. 1 day of cultivation here was equivalent to more than 20 days of cultivation outside. Although the cost of 80 runes was terrifying, which was more than 2,400 spiritual crystals, the effect was worth it. This was especially so for martial artists who needed to break through their bottlenecks. If they came here, they would have a higher chance of breaking through their bottlenecks. Although Lu Ming's blood meridian was at the 6th level, the speed at which it devoured and absorbed spiritual energy was not inferior to that of a 9th level blood meridian. It was at a terrifying speed. Lu Ming circulated his spirit-devouring bloodline and his body was like a whirlpool, constantly devouring the spirit chi of heaven and earth around him. Circulating his essential chi, the essential chi in Lu Ming's meridians transformed into tangible little dragons that swam in his meridians. The vortex in his dantian was spinning continuously, like a nebula. Just like that, Lu Ming immersed himself in cultivation. A few hours later, on the 2nd level of the Earth Cave. They're here. Suddenly, Liu Ma's eyes lit up and he shouted. The others all looked towards the entrance. 2 figures walked in. One of them was Bai Long. At this moment, one of Bai Long's hands was wrapped in a thick layer of bandages. Next to Bai Long was a young man with a cold expression and a 50 to 60% resemblance to Bai Long. Bai Kai really came. Liu Mazi and the others looked at the young man with deep respect. Bai Kai, one of the top 10 experts of the Outer Hall, was a peak 6th grade Great Martial Master. However, his combat strength was extremely terrifying. He could easily kill a 7th grade Great Martial Master, and many Inner Hall students were no match for him. He was a top genius. They simply couldn't compare to him. Bai Kai glanced at Liu Mazi and the others, then went to the 3rd floor. Let's go down and take a look. Liu Mazi gritted his teeth and followed him down to the 3rd floor. The others also followed. When Bai Kai and the others arrived at the 3rd floor, they saw that there was no one there. Speak, where's that little bastard? Bai Long's eyes were extremely cold as he stared at Liu Mazi and the others. Fuck, we didn't know. We were also chased away by that kid. Liu Mazi's face changed. Looks like he's already in a secret room to train. Second brother, do you still remember which secret room it was? Bai Kai's voice was calm, but there was a hidden killing intent in it, causing Liu Mazi and the others to shiver. That room, that's right. Bai Long pointed at the room that Lu Ming had opened earlier. It was also the room that Ming Feng was cultivating in. Good, does that kid think that hiding in the secret room will help? Even if he's hiding inside, I'll blast him out. Bai Kai sneered. Boom. Then, he struck the stone door of the secret room with his palm. A violent tremor was heard. In the secret chamber, Ming Feng was cultivating. Suddenly, an earth-shaking boom sounded. His body shook violently and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale. Who is it? Who's bombarding the stone door? Damn it! Ming Feng roared. Boom. Outside, Bai Kai struck out with his palm again, causing the stone door to shake. Liu Mazi and the others were shocked. Bai Kai was really bold. There was a rule in the General Star Hall that no one was allowed to bombard the door of the secret room, because doing so would easily cause the person inside to go berserk. But now, Bai Kai completely ignored this rule. This was the confidence that came with being powerful. In the secret room, Ming Feng gritted his teeth. However, the sounds of the attacks continued to ring out as if they were endless. An hour later, Ming Feng couldn't take it anymore. I'd like to see who it is. I'm going to report him to the elder. Ming Feng growled, opened the stone door, and walked out. Bai Long, you again. The moment he opened the stone door, Ming Feng saw Bai Long. You're finally out. Why are you here? Where's that kid? Which secret room? Bai Long said coldly as he stared at Ming Feng. Why should I tell you? Also, you attacked the stone door, which is against the rules of the General Star Hall. I'm going to sue you guys. Ming Feng shouted. However, before he could finish his sentence, he felt a strong gust of wind coming at him. The speed of this gust of wind was far beyond his imagination, and he could not dodge it at all. Pa! Ming Feng's face received a heavy slap. Ming Feng's body flew out. You talk too much. Tell me, which secret room is that kid in? Bai Kai asked coldly as he withdrew his palm. Fuck, I don't know. Ming Feng struggled to get up and shouted. You don't know? You still dare to be stubborn? Bai Chi's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. His body moved and he appeared beside Ming Feng. He stepped on Ming Feng's face, causing his face to collide with the stone slab. Do you know now? Bai Kai asked indifferently. Roar. Ming Feng roared like a wild beast and struggled in anger, shouting, I said I don't know, so I really don't know. If you have the guts, kill me today. Otherwise, I'll definitely take revenge. Big brother, looks like he didn't lie. I've checked the secret chamber that was opened here, and it wasn't open for long. I guess that kid went down. Bai Long said. He went down? Bai Kai frowned. It would be troublesome if they went further down because they did not know which secret room Lu Ming had entered. Without knowing which secret room it was, he didn't dare to randomly attack. This was especially true from the 4th level onwards, where everyone was an expert. If he made a mistake and provoked other experts, things would become troublesome. Bang! Bai Kai kicked Ming Feng away and said in disdain, a master realmant wants to seek revenge from me? Fine, I'll be waiting for you. After he finished speaking, he looked at Liu Mazi and the others and ordered, you guys, stay here and guard. When you see that kid come out, report to me immediately. This Mo. Liu Mazi and the others hesitated. What's wrong? You want to refuse? Bai Kai stared at Liu Mazi and the others with an unfriendly look, and his voice turned cold. No, we'll definitely stay here. As soon as that kid comes out, we'll report to you immediately. Liu Mazi hurriedly nodded in agreement. Bai Kai nodded and left with Bai Long. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.